Oh, you get some advertisements.
The Alienware Legendary Battle Station.
Did you get an ad? Oh!
I think so. Something came up.
Yeah, I think you got an ad. Well, it's working. Yeah, it's working. I can hear it. Did you get an ad? Yep, it's working.
I'm hearing it on my computer as well as on your...
Yeah, I could hear us perfectly fine on it. Okay, that's good. Put on some music.
I turned off one so that I could just hear you.
Okay, sounds good. Turn on some music. Copyright free music, bye. Let me tweet it out. Oh, such a chill music. It's not bad. How are the audio's levels? I'm assuming it's right. That switch. Ooh. Stream Elements is in. Hello, hello, hello. Alright. That is working now. Let's turn the music down. We already got some people in. That's exciting. Oh man. Finally, some breeze. I like that. I'm liking that a lot. It's like a breeze coming in now. Like,
No.
Alright. So we are live. I'll put the music very softly so it's barely hearable. That's the copyright free music. Haha. Not free, technically it's not free, but you can now see what a delay is. Can you tell? It's about 4 or 5 seconds, I believe. Alright. Oh wow, it looks nice like that. Although I need to change my code, my tags, because that is not right. Shooting as an is not that. Let's change those because that is not right. Hello. Yeah, that's better. So I have a guest here. see if this is helping. Yeah, that's better. Oh yeah, well we're English. Oh, that's correct. Yeah. That's what we're talking. We're not talking in Dutch. I think the follow thing is still messed up. Yeah, well. Should be fine. Let's put some stream elements in. See if they are working. Whoop! That's where my mic goes. That's not good. Woohoo! I think it's only us who's watching. Let me check. Nope. Alright. Let's get that GFX in. Oh, come on, seriously? So yeah, today I'm joined by one of my friends. You want to say hi on the stream?
Hello.
Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you on here. I'll probably have to mix up several different type of, like, I don't know, accents, because that's how I roll 90% of the time.
Oh, it's all good.
I put the sound from the music down a little bit more. Hopefully that's alright. At least it's a little bit of like a chill song in the background. Although I can switch to pretty heavy because I put also kind of songs in there. But yeah, this is the first time we're doing this. Oh man, that's fun.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I've ever been on a stream.
Yeah, and do you know how many people are on Twitch? Any idea?
No idea.
30 million, I've heard.
Oh.
Twitch is pretty big. But that's the fun of it. But sometimes you don't even notice how big it is. It's a pretty big platform. It does all kinds of things.
Yeah, I didn't really follow it, and I think you were the one that actually mentioned Twitch to me a few months ago.
I did. Yeah.
Because it was a long time before I actually got involved in even making videos on YouTube. Getting to that point, so the next progression is, I guess, live streams. Yeah,
and I do recommend doing it, because I've seen a lot of people doing it like this. Like, this, of course, now how I do it. There's, of course, other ways. Like, right now, you can just see this screen, but if I do, and I'll have to do that in a minute. Let me do that for a second. I can go in, not here. Let's put some screens down. But if I switch to this, you can actually see my screen. And now the chat will see that in a second because the delay, they'll be able to see it later, but I literally can show my screen here with a click of a button. And that's what I love about this whole thing. You can just change anything and it will work. Can even put the chat on if I want to. I think that's a really bad image that I made. But yeah, as soon as someone like clicks something, I can go and do something in my browser if I want to do that. Let me show you how that works. That's the thing about this. It's so easy if you want to show something around, like show people how you do something or create something, you can also show them, and that's what I love about this whole platform. That makes teaching and stuff really easy when it comes to graphic design and such.
No, it's a great concept, and I like the idea of doing it. It's just a matter of getting something organized and then putting it together.
And putting the
because
time
with
in.
YouTube, it's not really as spontaneous.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can stream to YouTube as well. That's also an option with the program that I'm using right now. You can technically do that as well.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that about YouTube, that if need be, it can be done on YouTube as well.
Yep. That's the thing, like, there's those kind of options for it, and I love that about the whole concept of this whole thing, is that you can also do that and just, you know, switch around. Like, I have, right now, of course, got this screen on, and if I want to do something like show this, I can show that, and it will send it to my OBS. Which is kind of crazy. I don't see it on my screen, but I know that they see it. I think I can see which songs I'm playing as well, I think. Not sure if that shows up, but it shows up on mine. There's all kinds of ways to make your stream entertaining and change things around. Like right now I have the most standard things ever, but that's the fun. I think I got like... I'm not 100% sure what I put on, but put on several things to get it like 100% ready. But yeah. So what apps have you been using the past couple of days? Have you tried anything new? Or tried anything?
The apps I normally use are Clip Studio, Paint, and Procreate.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just recently put one up on Instagram, which was from my using Procreate, which I hadn't used in a while, for Instagram pictures. And basically just I've been trying to get proficient with using both back and forth. Because I'm sure you've had this too, where you have multiple programs, but there's always something in one program that you might like more than the other. And you may find yourself going back and forth between different programs.
I can actually show the chat what you mean.
Well,
Some of your work.
Some things in Clip Studio I really like. One of them is basically the comic panels, setting everything up.
Mm-hmm.
But I always found it easier to start Procreate right off the start because the user interface was so scaled down. It was very simple.
Here you guys can see some of his work. Look at that. They can actually see your work now.
Okay, let me get back into Twitch because I think the on my screen it actually closed down, so I'm just going to reopen it back up. I don't know what that was.
You're probably gonna get another ad. Welcome to the world of Twitch.
It's a necessary evil.
Yeah, well, ads is how you actually earn money on Twitch. That's the secret. That's how they actually make money in more ways than other. Yeah, here's some of your work.
I'm just looking at the... Can I see the screen chat? Let me see. Okay, I don't see anything there yet, but that's okay.
Yeah, we have a small delay, you know? But it should show.
I'm getting an ad for a new Intel Core processor.
Yeah. Ads are always random. I usually get ads for Amazon itself 90% of the time. Last time I actually had one for, I think it was, I had an ad for, what was it? I think it was for like, for all the shows that are on Amazon, and then we've got like one for Disney Plus, and I'm like, okay, fine. But that's how it works. I'm gonna close one of my blinders, because I am getting blind by the sun right now. Oh my.
Yeah, I can see one side of your face is like totally lit up.
Yeah. That's the sun that is like, hello. Now it's pretty dark, but oh well. It's fine. I got my lights on, but...
Oh,
No,
yeah,
it's,
because it's evening for you.
well, technically it's not
The sun's
evening,
starting
but
to come down.
it's technically alright, but it's just, the sun is just making a mess. I'll just put it like that. That creates enough light, I hope. Ah, well. The sun is just making everything hot right now here. It's like an oven, I would say. Literally.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really warm. I literally have a ventilator right now, right there. I could turn it on. It would be cool here, but...
Yeah, right now I think it is very hot outside, but luckily I haven't had to go out that much.
Yeah, well, here I'm melting out. I thought, oh, this is gonna be easy, and I was like, oh no, the weather. And I already had like a water storm because I was out earlier before I was setting everything up. I had to go downstairs because it was raining like crazy, and it was hailing as well. Like, really, whoa, okay.
Oh,
This
wow.
this is the bad side about living here. You can actually hear everything here. But it was like, it was hailing. It was like coming down really, really, really loud. I was like, oh, I guess I'll have to close some windows. So I went downstairs and I closed the window and I was soaked. From the 5 minutes, I think 1 minute that I was out, I was soaked. I was like, okay, that doesn't work. So yeah, that was
I've
fun.
been really fortunate because, I mean, I'm in a condo, but I also have the underground parking, so it's very rare I'm even exposed to the outside.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think the most I had to do was roll down my windows because they were putting the groceries in the car.
Ah.
Because we still have the place partially shut down, so you basically just order your food online and you go there to pick it up.
That's strange to pick it up. Sounds so weird.
Well, basically you just go to the parking lot and you park in these designated spots, so you call them when you're there and say, okay, I'm here to pick up my food, this is my name. They'll say, what parking spot are you at? And then they'll just have someone come in and just dump it in your front.
Oh, okay.
So it works for lazy people like me.
It's like, but then like, because, you know, everything's still going on and stuff, of course it's a bit understandable that things are different now.
Yeah, because what happens is, I think for us, from what I've read in Canada, the COVID cases, they've gone down.
That's good.
But what happens is, as you open things up, you're going to get more cases.
Yep.
It's just natural. So even though they've opened up a lot of stores, a lot of people still aren't going.
I see.
Which is understandable because people are genuinely worried.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, I mean, it's pretty much been opened up mostly there, right?
Yeah, most things are open here. The only thing that they have here right now is that when you go to, like, the take transport, you have to wear the mask thing. And that's about it. But a lot of people are now not taking public transport because of that. They're like, we're not doing that because they're too afraid to use it. Which, of course, is understandable. If you don't want to use that, then don't use it. That's simple. But yeah, they do have it up, but people are not using it.
Okay. Well, next thing, you were talking about, we were talking earlier about the drawing programs.
Yeah.
Is there one that's a favorite for you?
Well, I've been using all kinds of... Hey, we actually have someone coming in. Hey, Drake. Hello. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, for me, I've been using a lot of Procreate these days. Mainly just to get used to the iPad more. And, like, testing it out, seeing how it works, seeing how easy and flowing it is, and to see if it's, like, you know, normally working. But other than that, I've been using all kinds of programs. I would say. I've been actually got an app back that I was actually going to show, but for some reason my iPad is not really connecting yet, which I don't like.
Which one?
I was trying to get, I'm using Flame Painter these days.
Oh, okay.
And Flame Painter is a very small program. Let's see if I can get it to work. Might be able to. Oh. If I can get the code.
I thought I saw a review on that program.
Let's see. Click on mirror. Oh yeah. Okay, got it. I can actually now show you. Let's see if I can get Air Server to do what I want it to do. Yeah, here we go. It means I need to do one small thing. Oh, this is always a bit of a issue. Welcome to the world of a streamer where you need to switch things around. Right now I have my iPad on my screen and that is working, which is great, but it's showing me on the wrong screen. So let's switch it up to here so you can actually see it on the big one. What I've been using. Let's see if you can actually see it. Oh, that's the camera one. No, I need that one. See, there it is. Let me know if it's visible correctly. But I've been using this app a lot. Well, not a lot, but I've been using it a bit to test it out. And this is called Flame Painter. And basically, I had this app before for many, many years. But you can do this with it. Don't know if you can still see the screen, the stream, but you can see what I'm doing.
Well, the icon for it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's like a little flame. It's pretty nice. It is, I got it when I used to use it on my PC as a normal app, as like a usual app that you use. And then I was like, maybe I should try this out and see how it actually works, and I found out it was super easy, so it's a really fun app. It's one I usually use when I have to do like a, what you call a sort of drawing that is, how do you explain it? If you got like a really cool photo that you masked out, and then I would use this to kind of like show that.
Oh, it looks really interesting. I like the interface.
It is a super easy interface. It is one of the easiest interfaces that the apps can have. And it has several different options, and it just can do anything. Like if you want to do something crazy, there's like latency in it, so when you use the pencil, it doesn't directly show it. Sometimes it's a little bit delayed. But you can use this really cool for like if you have like something like that, what I just said, like something that I don't know stands out, then you can use this kind of app to kind of like enhance your photos. So that's an app that I've been using a lot, and today I found out this app, which is a drawing app, but it's like a glow brush. That's right in Dutch, but like not like that. Boop. that's the thing with this pen. It's basically, I don't know how to write it down what kind of app it is, because it's really, I think it's pretty new. But it's pretty damn awesome. It has all kinds of options, and of course it's also a paid app. If you want to pay for it, you can do that. Haven't done that myself though. I got the free version. But it makes really strange type of like drawings and stuff if you want to do something crazy with it. If you want to like do a flower or something, or a heart, it creates like these things that I haven't seen yet. So that's an app that I've been trying out, and of course I've been playing some with Procreate.
Well, it's interesting. It's definitely worth taking a look at.
It's a nice app. It's an interesting app.
I've had some people asking me, I guess, their opinions on, they're just starting out into drawing.
Yeah.
They want to get into the field, but they're trying to look for what's a good program to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't really have too much of a budget.
Yeah. And what did you recommend to them?
Well, I did tell them what the industry standard is for a lot of things, like Adobe, like Photoshop, and Illustrator. I did mention some of the, if they didn't have a budget, I mentioned some of the open source programs. Like Krita for drawing. It's actually what I'm working on right now.
Nice.
Because I find it's very, very close to the Photoshop experience in my mind. How it's been set up.
Yeah, Krita is free,
and
right?
For graphic design, I actually recommend Inkscape.
Ooh, yeah, I've heard about that one.
At least I've had a good experience with it so far.
Yeah, I myself have been playing with Affinity, which is not too expensive either. I believe Affinity for your...
I've heard about that.
Affinity for your tablet was about, I think, four or five. To pay for it, I think, and for the desktop it was a lot more. But I paid it now, and they actually have a discount right now for that program. And that makes it about maybe I think it was 19 euros per program now or something. So $19, I believe it was. I can actually look it up for a second in the stream. Affinity. I'm gonna just tell when the stream is so delayed, but that's fine. Yeah, it's this one. I do have to say, it's not an easy program to understand from the beginning, so my plan is to make some videos on it to actually explain how it works. But it is pretty cool, because you can actually do this also on your iPad, because I was just showing my iPad on screen. But I actually have the apps on here as well. Let me show you in this, like here. And they work the exact same way. So what you see on screen, like how it is described as like a vector program. I have the vector program here. Although, these are not really good examples. But basically, you can do vector work in here. Which is what makes this program something completely different. Start a new one for a sec. New document. And you can actually make really big sizes as well, like A4, whatever you need, it will work.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. And it looks the exact same.
I should mention that to my friends about Affinity.
Yeah, this is Affinity Designer. You also have Affinity Photo, so that's more like, oh hey, Just Jones, hello, welcome to the stream. If any of you guys who are watching, by the way, have any questions, leave us a tell us and leave a comment or something. But yeah, this program is I think your friend would like it if he's like really into that, like as you said, like into vector based programs. This program can do vector. It will export as a vector as well. Like what is shown here right now on the screen, like how it looks. I can show you. Let me switch. Like this is basically how it works, and it's basically like an entire program based on that. It's pretty crazy. But it works really well. It's just a matter of getting used to, I would say. And it's cheaper. I guess that's also something that you would have to look into, because I got it for a lot cheaper. Well, I'm doing really good, Just Jones. How are you doing? So yeah. Also, these are really cool, twisted brushes. I think I actually got a free brush extra with it as well. They gave me 2 packs as well for this program. I think it was the abstract paint bundle that they gave me. But as you can see, the program is now priced off, and I believe I myself have designer because I'm more like I want to have like an extra competitor towards like working with the other one. Yeah, it's 55. They raised up the prices again, but during the whole crisis thing, they actually had the prices dropped, and it was only 19. So yeah, it's not too bad for a program.
That 19 is a one-time purchase?
One-time purchase, yes.
Oh.
You got a free trial as well, so you can test it out for 30 days.
That's good.
And for the iPad, it's 21 now,
okay.
But I didn't pay 21 for it. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Pretty sure I got a discount it.
Oh.
Good. Okay, that's good. Happy to hear you're doing good. I don't even know. I'll have to look it up, but I actually paid, but I paid less for it. I think because it was still during the thing that they raised the prices of now. But if your friend is looking into it, I would say check this program out. It's a lot of fun to play with and to work with. It is, I would say, you do need to have a learning curve. It is a program with a learning curve. And maybe that one that you mentioned, Inkscape, will not have that. Well, this one does have a learning curve. But they do have a really good library for learning, which is also something that I like. So that's something that could help.
Okay.
So they got like a really good like starting guide for like everything. Like it got like special books for video tutorials for desktop and for the iPad versions. So that is also something that I would say that's really handy, that comes in handy when you do this. I do have to say Publisher is only for desktop. That is the app for more for typography and for posters and for books. The other ones are just for vector and for like Photoshop. So it's basically counterpart against Photoshop. These programs have been in a fight for a very long time, so it still hasn't stopped. So they're competitors.
So is Affinity, I guess, a publisher is like the equivalent of Adobe InDesign?
Yes. Yep. That is what it is. I actually have all 3.
I'll pass that along to my friend.
I think it will be helpful. I actually have all 3 on my laptop right now. I believe I do. Yeah, I have them here. All 3. Which will be shown delayed on the stream, but that's fine. But yeah, it's. I do have to say though, it is a bit, as some would say, it takes a lot of power from your laptop. Like the other programs do, like Photoshop can sometimes take a lot of power. Like right now you can hear my laptop literally, I don't know, doing some sort of windy thing. It's literally a lot of sound that's coming from it. That's what these programs do as well. Like, they take a lot of CPU power. But then again, when does Adobe not do that? Right?
Well, I have first-hand experience with that, trying to put a Photoshop on my 7 or 8-year-old computer.
Yeah. That's also not ideal. Mine actually updated today. My old laptop is right now running part of the stream. And I have to say that one just had to do the update for Creative Cloud, and it is really slowing down the entire system. Because that one is also, like you said, yours is that age, that one is the same age. It's slow.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically what I've been using a lot too, like on my iPad as well, like using Affinity. It's good equivalent to, like I said, to Photoshop if you don't want to pay $60 per month. If you can imagine, you have 5 programs for the same price as like for Photoshop you pay like, what is it, 60 per month. This is only 55 for one program. Of course you have to pay 3, but if you have to imagine that if you pay those 3 and then equivalent it to Adobe, which is per month, this is still cheaper because this is a one-time purchase. That's something you have to think about. I think that's something that if people ever think about like thinking of switching to that, then always think about like those kind of things. Like, think about do you want something that is per month, or do you want something that's a one-time purchase?
Yeah.
And if you got the time to learn it, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I've had to tell some of my friends that are starting off is when you're looking at a program like Adobe Photoshop or any other design program, you really have to make sure that your computer, what you have, can actually run it.
Exactly.
Some of them will actually just buy it, but they don't realize that their computer is maybe 6, 7 years old, so it won't work.
Yep. And that's the thing with every program as well. And you notice that's why sometimes you have to upgrade your systems and have to get a new one, or get, like my old iPad. I have an iPad mini. Well, that can never run Procreate anymore because as soon as that is starting up, it is already dead. It just cannot run that. It just did not work anymore. I had to install the Pocket version in order to have it work on that old iPad.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, I don't know if I told you, I actually called Apple, their support line, and I was talking about getting a new computer, and I told them I wanted to get it to run Photoshop. That was why I was getting it. So I mentioned the Mac Mini, and they actually said no. They said, you may not want to get that because apparently it doesn't have an integrated graphics card.
Yep. That's true. Yeah, that's why they usually tell you to get the iMac instead, or get the MacBook Pro, because they have better graphic cards for that.
Yeah, they recommended the MacBook Pro, the bigger one, or the bigger sized iMac, but they said you can upgrade to 16 gigs.
Yep. I understand that. Why is it showing that I'm following myself? Stream Elements, what are you doing? Stream Elements is messing up here right now, guys. This is funny. But yeah, I heard that. I heard about that. Like I'm using a MacBook Pro from last year, so to 2019, I believe, or it's 2018. Sometimes they're a year older. Let's see, which one am I using? 2017, actually.
Oh.
And then this is a 13-inch, 2 Thunderbolts. But I did get like the 2.3 gigahertz dual core because I want to get some more power. But I do notice that I need to get, like, if I want to get an upgrade, I'll go like for more memory, because right now this one is running on 8, and I noticed that it's too slow. That's why I told you to get like the higher one. Because,
Yeah. No, I remember that, and that's why I'm making sure it has to have at least 12 to 16 gigs.
Yeah, because for me, I already noticed, especially with not just with these kind of programs, because it's okay running, but like for if you want to go like that extra step, you know, the like if you want to run like multiple programs and longer, and you know that kind of stuff, then I would say like go upgrade, you know. See if you can get an upgrade, because this one needs an upgrade. But that's for in the future, not for now.
Yeah, and I think that's something I've mentioned to my friends is get something that has more than the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Because these programs are constantly going to be updated, and they're going to require more than what you have.
Yep. Look at an old computer that you have or an old system. You'll notice that some programs will work really slow on it, and it's just not working fine. It will be so delayed that you're like, especially Premiere. Premiere has really issues with programs that the computers are slow. Although I have to say, this video that I made, this quick one, the introduction, like this, the starting screen that is showing up in like on the screen right now, but it's delayed for us. That one is like that took about 4 minutes, but that technically should be done in like a second, because it's such a tiny file. It should not take 4 minutes to do. That's because the processing power is too slow, and that's the big difference between one and the other.
Yeah, it's interesting when we were talking about the because some people, I know a lot of friends, they don't really understand how the megs or the RAM really factor into the program.
Mm-hmm.
So someone at Apple had an interesting comparison. He said, if the think of the megahertz as yourself, and think of the RAM as the amount of countertop space you have in a kitchen.
Yeah. That's a
so
good
relating
comparison.
it to food actually worked for me, because
I agree.
I told him I've heard so many different explanations, but it never really sunk in. But as soon as he made that really interesting comparison, I said, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, I did a study in IT, and for that reason I do know a lot about computers and stuff. So when I got this one, I knew that it was going to be that would not have enough power to, you know, keep it on for a long time. But I did that because, you know, at that time you have to make a choice. Either you get a new laptop or you have nothing. And so you choose something that at least you can, at that point, buy. And that's why I got this one. Do I regret it now? Maybe, but then again, I now have an iPad that can do a lot. I have my second screen that I can use. I have my other laptop still that works for what it works, you know? So I always have an extra backup now, and that is something that I do learn that is super important when you're like doing the work that I do, is that you always have that. Like, have a backup. Make sure that you always have a backup. Oh damn, people are
Yeah, and that
racing.
was one of the reasons why I was looking at upgrading the computer again, because technically the computer does work, but it's basically older tech, and my iPad is only a year old, so that's been working great.
Yeah, that one will do. That one will be fine for
Yeah, it's just
years.
If anything happens and I have to rely on the computer as the primary, then it might be an issue. I might be restricted.
Yeah. But like I said, I think for you personally, I would say look into like getting a MacBook or something else that you feel like has your needs. I know MacBooks are not cheap. For those of you who think that a MacBook is a cheap device, I can tell you it's almost the same price as a high-end a gaming PC. I would say.
Actually, That's actually what I was looking at. Was I was starting to look at gaming PCs as another option.
And what did you think about that? Sorry, I'm looking outside because right now I think there's gonna be more rain.
All right.
Yeah, well, the sun is down.
What did I think about it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been probably for 7 years. I've been on the Mac, but to be honest, I've never really gone deep into the program operating systems before. So when someone says, "Do you prefer Mac or PC?" my attitude is always, I really don't care as long as I can open up the graphic design software program. It doesn't matter to me what platform I'm on.
I do have to say, as someone who came from using a Windows computer in my past for graphic design work, that was about 7 years ago, 8 years ago when I first got my Mac. But when I still had my Windows, I did notice a couple of things that I noticed that at one point got a bit annoyance, I would say.
With the Windows one?
Yeah, because when you switch from a MacBook to a Windows, it's a bit of a big difference because the programs both work on a different side of, like, software. I wouldn't say, like, software isn't big software, but more like it's working in a different type of vibe. So you can tell that it's, how do you explain it correctly? It's more difficult. Like, Windows has a lot more that you need to do in order for a program to work. While with a Mac, if it doesn't work, it will circle and it will be done. That's it. Like, with a Mac, it's more, it's easier. Like, yeah, it starts, like, starting times are always really quick with a Mac. I mean, I haven't had any issues with that taking, like, hours or hours to start up. With a Windows computer, it's just a little bit more tricky. As someone who did IT for a long time, it's such a different now to go back to a Windows computer and to work on that. Like, I still have one right next to my whole setup here. There's literally an old Windows computer literally standing here. But I know when I touch it, I barely know how to use it anymore because it's so much more complicated all of a sudden. And that's actually strange, but yeah.
It's interesting you mention that because I had one of my friends who was asking, said, well, it's a simple question. It's a bit of a really misleading question where they said, well, what's better to use for graphic design, a Mac or a PC? And I said, you can't really, I don't know that you can really frame the question like that because, first of all, what are you using it for exactly?
Yeah.
You can get a Mac that has only 8 gigs of RAM and it won't run Photoshop like you want. Or you can get a gaming PC that maybe has 32 gigs and you don't have a problem. So I always tell them that you really have to anyone who's starting out, you really have to figure out what it is you're going to be using it for.
Yep.
One thing I do say is that if you're, because you mentioned you've had a background working in IT, so when people ask you questions about, say, the RAM, the relation with the RAM and the speed of the computer, you can actually answer that. But a lot of people may not know that. So I always tell them, the Mac is good in that it's pretty much been put together for you, although it's pricier. You can get an equivalent in a PC, but you really have to understand what you're looking for because there's a lot of, it's not all from one company.
No, it's going to be different. And if you do it like yourself, like you don't buy a PC, like as a PC, you have to build it yourself, you'll notice a lot of problems too. At least you can run into a lot of problems if you don't know how to do it. Because that's, I think, one
thing I learned was...
Yeah?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to mention that when one of the good things about me being on the PC for so long was that it forced me to understand how everything worked under the cover. But when I got the Mac, I didn't really have to worry because in the 7 years I had the Mac, I've never had an instance where I had to take it in to get it fixed.
Yep, that's the big difference, I think. Like, I had to do it once now because it's a bit dummy for me, but by accident, my Mac touched something and whoa, okay, I need to shut down something. 1 sec. Alright, that was done. I don't know if you heard that, but we have glasses by the window and the wind was suddenly so strong that it literally tried to, well, get them out of the window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's usually unheard of, but okay. But, what was I saying? I don't even know. I forgot
Well,
now.
we were talking about the, I guess, that when you have the Mac, you didn't really have to worry about fixing it too much.
Oh yeah. Like the tiny issue that I had, the one that I mentioned, the issue with my MacBook was that the cooling fan had come off. Now that is not something that should happen, especially in such a small thing, you know, when the MacBook is really tiny and you don't want to break it up. I've once done that, like opened up my MacBook and it was really scary because there's so many tiny little thingies that can go wrong, so yeah. But that thing is, it's like, it was nuts. But like, I got it fixed, and the guys that fixed it, they did it really quickly. So I was like, oh, okay, it was done in a day, and it was fixed, and I was like, okay, that's done. And now it's working fine. But I've had with my Windows computer, I've had so many issues at one point. Like, it was only like maybe 3 months old, and I already had my hard disk that was not working anymore. Like, all the kind of like little issues that I was like, I should not be able to have these issues, you know? But yeah, it's for graphic design, I would say look at the specs, but always keep in mind that you need at least 8 gigabytes to run Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign at the same time. Because usually, and that's what I do, because I usually run them simultaneously. So at the exact same time, 3 programs open. That's the one thing that Mac does, and that's why I love it, is that as soon as you switch from one program to the other one, it will put the other program to sleep. Which means that it turns down all the processing down so that it doesn't take that anymore. And that is something that you always need to keep in mind when you're using this. I think that is something that I've learned.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good. And I think that's something I definitely try to pass along to them as well. Because I think with them, it's kind of an issue where we just need to buy something as quickly as possible. But if you buy the wrong thing, I mean, you're setting yourself back.
That's true. You always need to think about what is something that they need right now. What is it something that they need that is super important?
Yeah, and that was something I mentioned because they said, no, I have to get this right now. And I said, but really, you're just starting off, so it's not like you have any clients that need you to work on this right now. You can take a bit longer to really, take the time to research a bit more. Because it's the same for me. An instinct would be, let me just buy the PC. But what I really want to do is wait for a Mac.
Right now, we're getting a 1 second, Neil. We're getting a host from ISO who's hosting us right now. Thank you for the host. Sorry, had to say that.
No worries.
You can continue your story.
Let's see. So, I was saying that it's better to wait than to than to rush and get something that you won't be happy with, because one, you won't be happy with it, and two, I mean, financially wise, you're setting yourself back.
Yeah.
And
Like,
it's not really to say that the PCs are bad, but it's more, if you know what you want, then as much as possible, because it's not really an expense, you have to treat it like an investment.
yeah,
But
indeed.
even though there is obviously an upfront cost, it's something you need to be happy with that you're using.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Like, I agree with that 100%. Like, when I bought my first MacBook, it was like, my mom was like, "This thing is expensive." I said, "Yeah, well, yeah, but I need it because my laptop was just not working, running perfectly." And I was like, "I need to get something." And then I got my first MacBook. I was like, "Damn, you know?" It worked really well, and it worked really, like, really natural. Like, it was like this. It felt like I had something that was super quick, that I could switch to programs with, that worked fine, that was built in, that I had everything done. Like, I didn't have to buy extra software to write. Like, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't know, is that yes, Apple is really expensive, but what is the extra that Apple does? Apple has Pages. It has, what else does it have? Keynote. Like, all these kinds of programs are built in, so you don't have to buy them anymore. With Microsoft, you have to buy everything.
It has iMovie. It has iMovie, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. It even has that. Like, it has all these kind of programs already built in that you don't have to buy anymore. Like, Numbers as well. Like, that's for Excel. Like, I don't have to buy a whole new program just to have that running. I can just open it up and it works. And that's, I think, that a lot of people are forgetting, that Apple does do that. It does make sure that it has that already booked in, caked in, done, you know? And I think that is the one thing that Apple does well, you know, is making sure that it has everything. And it's virus free 90% of the time. Because, oh boy, have I had my MacBook having to redo it. Because of some stupid virus that came in. Not gonna deny that. That's the one thing I had a lot of times. My best friend is actually an IT expert as well. He's been doing it now for about 12 years, and he had so many computers come in, all Windows, and he had one Mac in the entire career. In those 12 years, he only had one Mac. That's it. That tells you something, at least.
Yeah, and I think that's something I tried to pass along to my friend, because they were trying to really make it a numbers game, to say, well, if I get a bit of a slower computer, I can save $100 here, or I can save $150. And I tried to tell them that you really have to look at it from a long-term perspective, because it is a big purchase.
Yep.
It's costing you $1,000. The model I'm looking at will probably cost me $2,000 at least. But I told myself that I'm going to wait for that, because I'd rather do that than rush into something that actually sets me back.
Yep, and I think that's why I choose to do it too. Like, why I got my Mac. Like I said, this one has been running for 8 years. Yours has been running for 8 years as well. Like, my old laptop that I have literally over there, and I have one actually over here as well, is from my parents. Both of them are not working, and it was after 2 years. Both Windows laptops were dead. And I'm like, I didn't do anything different that I've done on these systems, so what is the difference that they already died? And it was like, well, one processor died, apparently. And the other one, the hard disk was dead. Twice.
Oh.
In 2 years, like, ouch, you know? That's painful.
That reminds me, because I bought, this is how far back this is, I had a Sony Vaio laptop. And it was getting viruses. But the problem was there's really no one you can call because Sony would say, well, it's not us, it's the software. But if you call Windows, they'll say, no, it's not us. It must be Sony. So you're getting bounced back because no one's really saying whose fault it is. Not fault, but they're not saying who can fix it. The other issue is that, I mean, here, when you buy it from, say, another retailer, they actually put their own software in it as well. So that actually means that you don't really know who's putting what into the computer. You don't know what you're buying, really. But what I've always liked about Apple is that it's coming from Apple. They won't put anything in that isn't really theirs.
And if there's an issue with it, what can you do? You can call them and you get a new one.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually never had to worry about getting the unit replaced, but every time I've called them, I've never had anyone say, well, that's not my department or I can't help you. Because it's an Apple, they basically cover everything in the product.
Yep.
So,
they do have a 2-year guarantee. That's something you do have to mention. They have a 2-year guarantee, technically. But they have the...
okay.
That's the warranty that they have. The warranty is that. But you can upgrade it. You can get like the Apple Care thing, and then you have like another extra months. And they will cover everything for as long as you need it. I knew that mine wasn't in it anymore because I was like, I'm not going to pay $100 extra at the time. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
But then again, I got it fixed at some guy and he fixed it, so it was done. It was done. I was like, it's fine. But yeah, when it comes to actually this whole thing, like talking about like graphic design work and stuff, make sure you just have a good system. Like you can do it on the Windows, but keep in mind that you have to get like that it will slow down your computer massively. It's hard. Like I've tried it to do it. Like I've done streams with OBS on and Illustrator. It works fine. It can run that perfectly fine. It's just a matter of like finding out what does each software do, and like now I'm using an extra screen, which is also taking process power. That's one thing that people may not know. If you have a second screen, it will take power, like because it needs to. It has a power cable, but it also needs to have extra power from your laptop as well, like the USB and the HDMI is also a power connector, so it will still like slow down. Anyone fancy buying me a broken Mac? I'll send it to Apple to get replaced. Oh, I stammer, yeah. Well, you can try it, but it has to be between 0 and a year, though. And it has to be registered to your name. That's also a thing. Because they do check that. Because it is registered to your name as soon as you log in. I don't know if you... Did you notice that too? That your Mac is literally registered to you?
Yeah, I've noticed that. Actually, what you just said about the second screen taking up the extra processing power, taking up room.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I mentioned to some of my friends too when they say, I need to get a new computer, and I tell them, are you sure you need to get a new computer? And I'll talk with them about some of the things they have on their computer, and it turns out their computer's been littered with viruses, it has a lot of bloat software, things they don't need, they've never cleaned it. So I said, well, you may not need it as badly as you think. Maybe you just need to clean up the computer you already have.
Yeah. That's also a thing. Like, that's something that I've learned when I was using, like you said, like when I was using it. Like, when I was using a Windows computer was exactly that. I had to clean it up every month. People were like, why do you have to clean it every month? I was like, yeah, well, do you not know how how many cookies are stored in your laptop? how many extra files? Like, it is a bunch. Especially if you don't have that set up perfectly. It's a bunch. They literally clunk your entire system with that kind of stuff. And that's, like you said, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's something I've told them. I said, because I'll look at their computer, I'll look at their system, and they'll have all sorts of things, all these different torrent downloads for they want to download files. Probably not legal, but whatever, they do that. I don't judge. But I said, the problem is, you're putting a lot of things in here that it didn't really come with the computer to begin with, so you don't know how it's really affecting your system.
Exactly.
And then I did you know how you do Windows Manager, you check to see what programs are running in the background. And I found I had to scroll down how many programs they had running that they didn't realize it.
Oh my, yep.
And I said, just close the program down. And when we did that, we tried opening up one of those free software programs, a design program, and it turns out it actually ran fine. So I said, maybe you don't need a new computer right now, you can just use this. But you almost were ready to spend about $2,000 on a new computer.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've learned too. Like, my MacBook was running slow a couple of days ago. It was, as soon as I started off Safari, it was hot as hell, my laptop. And then I noticed that it was filled up with cookies, like the little files, and the history of my MacBook was crazy, like, in size. And I was like, I think I just found my problem. And I cleaned it, and it was running perfectly fine, perfectly smooth, no issues. I was like, okay, that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's
funny you mention that. It's funny you mentioned because another friend of mine, he was showing me. He said, "Look, Photoshop won't work on my computer," and it was a Mac. So I thought, okay, that's kind of strange. I would think at the very least it works. So then I looked. He had two screens open. Sorry, he had three screens, and the other two screens, he had multiple YouTube videos playing at the same time.
Yeah. Hello, slowing down your computer as well.
So I said, are you really listening to all these videos at the same time?
That's why
So
when
we closed it, and it turns out it wasn't perfect, but it ran a lot better than it was worth keeping.
Yeah, like for me, when I'm watching people stream, like you guys were in this chat right now, what I usually do with mine, I have my iPad set on beside my laptop so that I can still watch streams while I'm working, because I know that as soon as I put on Twitch, it's going to slow down my entire system. I already know that from the moment that I do it, because video processing is always something that, like you said, like your friend noticed it is taking your processing power as well, which is crazy. Like, you would not imagine it, but it does. As well as other things, of course, but even that slows it down like crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm thinking we should take a 5-minute break. What about you? What do you think?
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and we'll be back in a bit. Let me switch to the beautiful screen. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Let's put the volume back up again. Oh, this is such a relaxing music though. Wow. But I'm liking the music on the background. It's subtle. It doesn't like overpower us yet.
I'm actually thinking about getting Epidemic sound again.
Oh, yeah. It does make a lot of difference. It's that's why I'm liking it. Like that I can use it in my streams. That's why I'm like, oh, it's such a relief to be able to use it, you know? This epidemic sound it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's good to have. And I don't think it's that expensive. I do still have my drink here though.
Actually, let me look it up. You know what? I think I didn't really stop using it because of the price. I think I stopped using it because I started wanting to. So I just didn't think it was necessary to need the Epidemic sound.
I see.
But there were some soundtracks I really liked.
I used it mainly because I thought, you know, I wanted to make a trailer stand out. Because the trailer, I feel like, is a really big, a big part. And I really liked how it was operating. Like, it was really... They have really nice, like, trailer sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to ask you, for Epidemic Sound, it said a 30-day free trial.
Yep.
You know what the difference is between personal and commercial?
Commercial is if you use it for, like, that you make money off of it. So, basically, if you sell it for someone else. I believe that is what the difference is. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check that out. Actually, it's a good point.
Because I use it in my videos, and obviously when you get enough views, you get enough subscribers, you can qualify to monetize, but I don't know if that would qualify as commercial or if that's still personal.
I think I have it on the personal one. Because I'm a content creator. And so you, if you're
at the bottom, it says,
yeah, it says, yeah, it's
personal.
Personal means you're creating content or podcasts for your own use. So for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and podcast. And you can also add other channels if you want to. You have unlimited followers and viewers. You can have unlimited followers and viewers, and it includes monetization. But if you want to go, if you're like a freelancer business creating commercial productions, so basically for other things. I don't see no mecha at my door yet. You might need to turn Sunil's up a little. He's quite quiet. Oh, let me turn that up a little bit. Is that better?
I can hear you better, I think.
Yeah, but I'm...
Wait, let me see if I can change mine again.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's better now. I think they can hear you better now as well. I may have to turn the music on a little bit more. Yeah, no, it's better. Is that better? It should be. But yeah, I personally,
a bit louder too.
Yeah, I think it's better now. But yeah, I'm using the personal one. It's only $13 a year, $13 a month, $120 a year, which is cheap, I believe, for music. That's, you know, usable and everything you want it to be used in.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I mean, it's a reasonable price, I think.
It is. And here it says if you're free, because then it's like everything included from personal, covered for social media, online platforms, and websites, including Vimeo, simple clearance for client productions, and unlimited use in digital ads. Like if you were to use it for other people, for example, you want, I don't know, someone asks you to do the video and you're using Epidemic Sounds, then they have to pay themselves the personal license. I think that's the difference. Oh, Estemo says, it's now better? Oh, nice, okay. Estemo said that you're now better in sound.
Oh,
that's
okay,
good.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's what they mean. Like, if I were to say, like, hey, can you make me a video? Then you have to say, well, then you have to add the music yourself, because you're not allowed to use it for that use.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I feel like it's fair. That's why when I first got it, Epidemic Sound, the first thing I checked was this. The license, how does it work with Twitch, for example? Because I know that there's a thing on Twitch where you're not allowed to use copyright music. Well, of course, that's understandable. So then I was like, okay, can I use it with Epidemic? And now it's actually, Epidemic is actually integrated with Premiere Pro as well. Since a few days. So you can basically use your Premiere Pro account with Adobe. You can connect it to your Epidemic Sound, and you literally have your entire library there. And it is marvelous to use. It is perfect. It's like you can just drag whatever song you have, and you can download them, of course, from the website as well, but you can now just use them directly from Premiere as well, and test it, and like let people hear the music. There's so many like little things like that I'm like, Epidemic, you did this really well, you know? I'm so glad that they did that. And the music that I have now is just random music that I picked from the starting page. But if I go through it, I can show you guys. Maybe that's interesting for everyone who is streaming and wants some music on the background. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is basically what the page is. I think you'll see it with a small delay. But, basically they have all kinds of music that are now trending. Artist releases, ads, promos, and trailers. Music for children, corporate, cinematic, fashion, gaming, podcasts, sports and travel, and wedding and romance. There's just a couple of categories that they have. And then there's staff picks, so music that the staff from Epidemic choose that they like, and I actually have a couple of those songs in our list right now. And I went to artist releases, now trending, just to see which kind of songs that I liked. And the one that I used in the trailer is actually in here as well, which was Our Last Stand, which was this one. Which is actually a really long song. I actually have it in the list as well. Let me do it from our actual sound library on my PC. I believe I had it listed here. But sometimes I forget stuff too. Gotta admit. Right, here it is. So I'm gonna put the volume up a little bit. So it's a really intense type of song, you know? It's like super intense, but I was like, what the big thing is with these kind of songs when you use that in a video is timing. Like what I did was with my video, I first had like the white logo, then the black one, and then with the white again. I did that because I knew that if I timed it correctly with the effects, it would be perfect in sync. And that's also if you're looking for creating a video, is with Epidemic I learned is first look for the song. You can even choose the length of the song you want, by the way. If you want like a specific song that needs to be certain length, you can actually do that. there's so many like little things you can do with that, and they have so many music and songs that I'm like, yeah, if you really need to get a good song to put on your... Someone keeps hitting their mic. No, I think that's the sound. I don't think I'm hitting my mic, am I? Now I am.
No, I mean, I've got my phone away from me, so, I mean, it's
Yeah.
near me, but I'm not touching anything else.
No, mine is away from it too, so it should be fine. I don't know what it is then. I can check for a second on my other laptop to see what it is, but... Whoa, okay. I don't hear it. Strange. Strange. Although I have to say, this one is very picky. Every little sound it picks up. That's the problem with this mic sometimes. Oh, you get that song again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really picky. But on the other hand, it does give you clear sound, so it's fine. And up. Like that, like the clicking sounds, it does pick that up. It's a weird system. But maybe I'll have to look into that. It's a good point. But here on, if you have like the song that I have underneath, I can just click on download and it will download the entire thing. You can also buy them. You want the full license. I think it's when you move the mouse. Oh! Yeah. That could be it. Like that. Yeah. Keep moving my mouse. You can hear that. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. This microphone picks everything up. When I stream games, it never does that. Although my iPad can make the sound too, but then again, it's not turned on. I don't know. I'll put it away, see if it helps. Put the mic closer. I don't think you can even see the mic on the screen, can you? Anyways, that is something that you guys should look into. They also have genres, if you prefer that.
Genres?
Yeah, they have genres. All kinds of genres for music.
Oh yeah, I remember that because I used it, my early YouTube videos, when I wasn't speaking, I just had the instrumental. I was going for the orchestral music, you know, almost like soundtrack or trailer music.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using them for most of my type videos. And I think later on I did change it, but I do remember that I specifically went into that genre so that I wasn't getting any vocals, I was only getting the orchestra type music.
Yeah, normally when I do it, I also use that indeed. I usually use those, like, just more like flowy sounds kind of things as well, like you mentioned. But nowadays, I think what is important for my videos is the mood. Like for the one with the trailer, I knew that I wanted to create a mood, as they would call it. At least that's how I call it, at least. And now it actually shows the chat. I forgot that. I had that on here. Actually kind of cool. I did not know that it did that. Let's see if I can copy it. Nope, not in that one. Nope. Yeah, now we have to chat here. Look at that. OBS. Look at that. But yeah, I would say Epidemic is something that may be an investment for people because people are like, oh, it's $13 a month and la la la. Then again, I'm thinking, how many other subscriptions do you have? Because 99% of the time, people have Netflix, a phone, I don't know, iCloud. They have this. They have, I don't know, 20 subscriptions on Twitch. I don't even know how many, but you know, I'm just putting a thingy in, and that will, you know, that's also per month. That can also be per month. So look at it like that. You still have to pay for a subscription. So what does that one extra change? Like, I mean, of course, with Adobe, it's a different story because Adobe is expensive as hell. But when it comes to this, I would say it's fine. Oh man, damn, what a delay is there. This is nuts. The delay is sometimes really big.
Yeah. But it's interesting talking about the subscription because it's like you said, people might have subscriptions and I mean, again, it might be more for entertainment, but with the Epidemic Sound and with, say, Adobe, it's not really, it's a subscription, but it's basically almost an investment as well because you're using it for the purpose of creating something.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, of course, with my business and stuff, I can actually get some of it back. It's not a whole lot, but you can get some of the payment back as well. And that is something that I also keep in mind, like, yeah, I can get some of that money back that I've invested into this. And yeah, it is something you always have to keep in mind. You always have to pay 14 or 13 or whatever, but that's fine because, you know, it is helpful. It is good for your entire career because you don't just have to do it once. You can use it all the time. You don't have to just, if you once get the songs, it is, you have it until you have it, you know. Epidemic is not like, oh, you download all these songs and if your subscription ends, it ends. No, you'll still keep it. That's at least what I've read. I don't know 100% sure if that's true, but at least for me, I'm like, I'm gonna keep this subscription because I can still use it in all the songs and all the videos that I do, you know? And that's, I think, something that as a designer and somebody who creates content, that might be super duper important. Let's see, how long has it been that we've been streaming for now? Let's see. 1 hour and 35 minutes. Damn. It's a pretty long time.
How long are your videos usually?
4. Sometimes 3. It depends on how it goes. Sometimes you have a game that goes on for hours. Sometimes you have a game that goes on for an hour. Just depends on what type of thing you're playing and what you're kind of doing. Like with graphic design, usually an hour and a half. But yeah. What else? What else have I been doing? Lately, what was it? I've been doing a lot of sketching again. Something that is also really important in graphic design, sketching. Well, I gotta say, when I look at my old sketches from years back, I'm like, yeah. Huh. Like, I never felt like sketching for me was something that was really, really helping my process in the beginning. I was like, yeah, okay, but sketching is really important, but that's something that I want to tell people and make sure that people know is that when you sketch something, it doesn't have to be perfect, especially not in graphic design. If you sketch, for example, a logo or an icon or I don't know, something else, it doesn't have to be perfect. as long as your client knows what it means. If you're down on the same page, that's everything you need. Did you have any experience with that yet?
With the client?
Or with sketching?
I mean, with sketch. Yeah, and that's something I actually put in one of my. That's something I put in one of my videos was, when you're sketching, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, expect it not to be perfect, because the other thing I always try to tell people about sketching is, no matter how bad you think it is, always try to finish what you start.
Yep.
Because it's, again, I look at it two ways. Whether you like the drawing or not, make sure at the end you're able to learn from it. So I've had a few things I've done where it didn't turn out the way I wanted, but I finished it and I actually made some improvements in other areas. So one thing I do try to say is, I always tell people, I never like using the word perfect when it comes to art.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you can look at something and say, that's amazing, that's perfect, but in the end, I don't really know that you can measure it. It's really just based on if you like your work or you don't.
Yep. This is
So I think once I... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I actually grabbed something that I'll show in a minute.
Oh, I was just going to say that once I got away from that mindset of trying to make something perfect and just going on improvement alone, I found it made a big difference, because I ended up being a lot more productive.
I agree. I looked at when I first started, I got a lot of comments from my teachers about my sketches never being perfect. And at one point I was like, okay, if they find my sketches so terrible, how am I gonna improve it? So at one point I was like, well, you know what, I'll just make it digital, then trace it. Maybe then it will be perfect. And guess what? They thought that I had indeed sketched it, but not traced it. But at one point I felt so bad of myself that I was like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. If I sketch something, it's a sketch, and I have to keep that in mind. And if they do not understand it, that's fine. But nowadays, when I sketch something, I know it's good for me. And if someone else understands what I've sketched, that's perfect. That's a two-way situation. If you draw something from your head, that you have something in mind that this is what I want to put on paper, but you're not 100% sure if it's perfect, that's fine. If someone else knows what it is, that's 90% of it already. If you sketch and put the colors down, they'll know what you mean. If you write down underneath, this is what this means, this is what that means, they will understand what you mean. And I learned that pretty much the hard way at one point, that I was like, okay, so how do I do this, How do I start this whole process of thinking like that, And I was like, okay, if I may not like my sketch, if my client understands what it means, that's all that matters in the end.
Yeah. I mean, in cases like that, it is really more dependent on, it's dependent on what the client wants, what their vision is. And I think that was something where, when I first started out doing graphic design, one of the hardest things I was kind of sitting down with the client to say, okay, what's your vision? What's your expectation? Because I've had clients where they didn't really know what they wanted. So it didn't really matter what I did, because they weren't really sure what they wanted in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I think one thing that's helped is actually sitting down with the client and actually, what I usually do is I give them two images at two extremes, and basically we just try to work out something in between.
Oh yeah. That always works. I think I have one of my sketchbooks here actually, I think. Let's see if I have one of my older sketchbooks from when I first started. Or are these just drawings, I think? Oh, these are just drawings. but I think I have somewhere, maybe I'll post some photos from that in the coming weeks, where I actually have literally a list of how I made my sketches for, like, for something, for my, oh yeah, I do have one. Because I'm opening my own business, one of the things that I had to do was create my own handbook, which, what they call it, a brand book, where you literally write down everything that you want to do for your brand. So basically your like what your logo is gonna look like, how it's gonna look on paper, all that kind of stuff. And I actually made a book for that. But before I did that, I actually made a sketch first to show what I wanted it to look like. Because I needed to have that on paper. I needed to know what do I want it to look like, so I sketched it out first. Let's see if I have that in here. This is very unprofessional to look it up now, but whatever, that's fine. I don't think I have it in here though. No, it doesn't look like. Maybe I put it in there. But I had to sketch it out first. I first had to get a sketch. What is it gonna look like before I start it? And it's funny, I think I actually have a photo of it though. But when I finally got it all right, and I sketched it all out, it actually turned into an actual book. And when you do logo design, you have different variations. And in the book, I actually have all of those written down as well. Like I talk about what the logo means, what kind of colors it uses, what kind of typography I'm going to use for my brand, what my paper and my little business card is going to look like, what all the other things are going to look like, how my logo is going to look on my photos when I take a photo, what is going to look like on like artwork and stuff, an example of what my text is going to be, what my social media looks like. Like, that is something that you sketch out before you even get started. And so I made a sketch for how I wanted this to look like before I began my whole entire process. And that is what is super important to do. Is to always like do that. That's why I'm like looking for it, but I don't think I have it in here anymore. I believe I still have a photo of it, so I can basically show the photo maybe on stream. Let me see if I can get that done. Or I do have it somewhere here, maybe. That's also the problem with designers. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but that you lose your stuff. Or you forget where you put it. Or is that just me? It's like, where did I put it? Oh yeah, this is a tiny sketch. Someone who's an artist, he has a Twitch account now, but he doesn't have like overlays, so I sketched a tiny overlay. Then I actually made it digital as well. But it was just something that came into my mind, and I'm like, I need to sketch it down before I actually start drawing it, because I know what's going to happen if I don't do it. I'll forget what I wanted it to look like. But yeah, while you were talking, I was reminded of something. And I have this book by Paul Arden. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's this book that I bought in London. It was at a museum. And it's called It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. And I feel like that is a very good line. Because that is something that I always remind myself of. It's actually a book that I literally have in front of me. And each time that I think that I cannot do it anymore, I look at this quote and I think, no. One sec, Sim. Think about this. It's not how good you want. It's not how good you are. It's how good you want to be. That is something that's super important. And this book has tons of quotes and things and like they have like, you don't have to be creative as one of the lines. And I'm like, exactly. You don't have to be creative to be creative. Think about it like that too. Like, if I'm, you know, you can be creative, but are you creative, you know? There's a lot of, like, things, like, not everyone is born creative. Some people get it right. Like, there's also a difference between what we do as artists, like as painters and graphic designers, that is different from another type of art. At least that's how I see it. There's multiple different ways in art, and that's why everyone is actually creative in their own mind, because even if you may draw, let's say, a stick figure your whole life, you only draw stick figures. So what? What does it matter? Why can you not draw only stick figures? I think that is something that always keeps me in my check, like, yeah, that's right. Like, you can draw anything. Art is something that is so versatile, that's so big, that it doesn't have the standards. It doesn't say this is art. No, if you have something that is super stupid, it's art. I've done so many crazy things in my art school life. Last year I've made artworks from pieces of clothing to a piece of wood to a piece of, I don't know, cardboard, and my teacher called it art. But I was like, this is just a piece of crap. I actually have one here. One sec, guys, and I'll show you. And it's... I'll be honest with you guys, this is so embarrassing for me to show. This is super embarrassing to show. But this is something that I made last year, and it's a headpiece. Well, you guys can see how not pretty it looks, but oh well. I made this as a headpiece, and what I did was I made this first, which is done from metal, and it's actually to put in pens. And in my description at my school, I titled it as a self-painting piece. So I would put some paint on a brush, and I would literally put it on my head, hang out a canvas on my door, move the headpiece sideways on my head, so like this, and I would walk towards the canvas, and I would let the paintbrush that was like soaked in paint make a painting. Because I did not know what I was doing because I couldn't see it because I had the headpiece on. But the brush was doing something because it was touching the canvas, but I had no idea what it was doing. And I actually had the piece in the end. And it is so silly now that I think about it, but my teachers loved this concept. And I was like, okay, I'll just walk myself out. But that's art. Like, that is the definition of art. Even if it's as ugly as this thing is, because I'll tell you, if you see it, it's actually really, really ugly. It was considered art, because art doesn't matter what it looks like. They loved it. They were so, like, I made a video, which was a simple sketch. I love making sketches. Sadly, it's in Dutch, but if you see that one, they called it the most perfect thing they had ever seen. I can't show it because there's copyright or music on it. But they were obsessed with the video. And after I did my presentation, they kept laughing about it. I think it was like 2 hours after the presentation, and my teachers walked up to me and they said, I know what you have to do when you get out of this school. You have to do something with that, because that is your power. You're so good at sketches, man, creating sketches. And I was like, nah, that's a joke. That's not real. And they were like, no, this is perfect for you. You're so good at that. And I actually did one for something else, and it was so fun to do a sketch again. Even though it's so easy and simple, like if you guys see me in that sketch, it is so flippin' crazy, and I don't even recognize myself anymore. It's so weird to see myself in that role. But it reminded me that art is something that is so different. But it's beautiful. And I feel like that is something that I learned. That art is anything, and graphic design is the same. Graphic design is more towards the clients, art is more being free to do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's right. Graphic design's more a project specifically catered for a client. But I mean, with art, with anything, whether it's a comic or any concept design, it's not really for a specific person.
Exactly.
Maybe that's why I like doing it so much.
Exactly. Like you're doing really well with what you're doing with your design work and with your creating of your comic and stuff. I've seen, of course, some of the works that you've done on your Instagram, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And
thanks.
And I feel like that's also why I asked you to be on here, because I've learned a lot from you, actually, from like looking at my own work and actually seeing the beauty of it, because sometimes I didn't really see that anymore. I was like, I don't know if this is good or not, and I was a bit like doubting myself for a lot of times, but now I'm actually seeing that it actually looks pretty good.
Actually, one thing I always tell myself that helped me, as far as my mindset, is that remember that whatever you're drawing, you're always drawing it from scratch.
Yep.
And the other thing is, whatever you're drawing from scratch. And when I say that, it basically means that I'm trying to think about the best way to phrase it, because I have people that'll create something and they'll just get upset and want to throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, whatever you have, you're drawing it from scratch. And the other thing is, you've never drawn it before. Even if you've drawn, say, a knight or something, you haven't drawn him the exact same way you're drawing it now.
Yep.
And one thing I told people was that if you take a picture you drew, say a month ago, and try to draw the exact same thing, it's not going to look the exact same. It's going to look different.
That's correct. It's never going to look the same. I tried that trick, actually. I'll show you. I think I have a photo of it. I'll just center my PC to show it, because that's easier than looking for the originals, because like I said, it's a messy here. It's a bit messy. Let's see. Well, let's turn it on. Let's see if I can send it to my... Well, it's the exact example is what you're seeing right now. Let's send it to my MacBook for a sec so everyone can see it as well. So I'm not just talking to myself with that. See if it's actually working. That's the question, of course. Let's see. Did it work? Nah, it doesn't want to send. Oh, that's a shame. Come on, send it. I think it's easier to grab it then if it doesn't want to send. Let me see if I can find it. Now you guys are gonna hear a lot of noises. I found it already. Well, that was easy. Okay, so we did 2 paintings. I did this one. I did this one about 4 months ago. And I did this one a few days ago. Now I know I left out the moon, the sun, because I didn't really like that one. Well, like, it does look completely different. Even though I used the exact same materials. try to do the exact same colors. It's not the same. I feel like that is kind of what you meant, right?
Yeah, it's basically just that. And I think that's also when I think something that's discouraged people is when they look at other people's art and they say, well, I want my art to look exactly like that.
Yeah, the biggest mistake people can make.
And yeah, exactly. Because, and that was something that I had to deal with for a long time. And again, I think it's better now, but I do remember that you see this amazing artist online and say, well, if I can't draw like them, I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that is, I think, one of the main things that we've learned. Do not compare your art to that of someone else, I guess. Do not compare what you've made to what another person is going to do, because it's always going to be different. You cannot compare yourself to someone else. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah, and that was something I actually mentioned to someone when they were talking about their art, because I said, like, when you put your art, it's actually a work in progress, because you're applying all these skills you've learned to date and you're putting it into that drawing. So when you look at someone else's art, you actually don't know how much time and effort went into their picture. Like, they might have been drawing longer than you, they might have had special training, it could be they just pick it up better. But
Yep.
it's really hard to compare yourself to a snapshot of someone else's work by just looking at their finished product.
Yeah, and I feel like that is the thing with Procreate. Of course, you have the time lapse, but sometimes I feel like that's something that why I'm actually looking into getting like an actual camera as well. It's because I want to do like videos for how I do those kind of paintings. Because I feel like you need to see how someone is doing it. Like, I have to admit, when I got into my art school, I was like, I'm the only one who cannot draw or hasn't drawn anything in years, because people assume that a graphic designer is always good at drawing. No. Graphic designer are 90% of the time not good at drawing. Because they think about the tools, not the... They are creatives, but their art style is different, because they look like I always, when I do drawings, I always think about the... What do you call it? I always think about it like, in my mind I'm already thinking, okay, if this is going to print, which colors can I not use? That's typical my mind, because that's how I think. Because I'm always thinking like, okay, if I want to print this on a high-end canvas, like I have a giant canvas here right now in this room, if I want it to be that size, I need to think about the size, the DPI, the all that kind of stuff before I even start. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, it's come across a few times. I've thought about that. Again, I guess for me, my biggest focus was just when I was basically not, like, my biggest thing was actually comparing myself a lot to other people. So that was kind of the biggest issue for me. Outside of that, I think once I kind of got that out of my mindset, the other things kind of fell into place. And again, that was just for me. That's kind of what was holding me up. Like, probably one of my most nervous times was when I posted my first picture on Instagram.
Oh, we all know that.
Because it's the first time you're putting it up for other people to see, and they can react and, like it or dislike it. And, but then I just said, you know what, I just want to know. I want to see what people think about it. I want to... But I don't think it was about that. I think it was more, I just really wanted it to be out there for people to see. Yeah. But I wasn't too concerned with whether people would like it or not, because to me, if someone's taking the time to respond to say something negative about you, then that really says more about them than anything else.
True. Although sometimes I feel like it is
for
important.
someone to actually go online and say, I think this is awful, I can't believe you. It's like, what was really so important for them to say that?
I do feel sometimes that it is important to also think about that. In my mind, at least, that's how I think about it. Sometimes for me, I need to think about that kind of stuff as well. Like, sometimes I prefer to get feedback because if I do something and it's not good, at least I want someone to be honest with me about that. And I've had a couple of times in art school when my teachers were like, oh my god, this is so amazing, and then the next week they said, well, you actually haven't changed anything to it. I actually think it's ugly. That's a bit of a going against your own principles, because then first they like it, and then the second that a week later they're like, oh my god, this is so ugly. Like that in yourself hurts yourself, because you're like, oh my god, what did I do wrong here? But then I think about it like, no, what they actually just did is told me that I need to do more research to make it better. And I learned a lot from that later on. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what you said is perfectly explains it. Is even if if the feedback is negative, I try to take it as, okay, maybe I can learn something from what they're saying. I may not agree with it, I may not like it, but at the very least, like maybe my picture, someone just says, hey, your character's anatomy doesn't look right, or this doesn't look realistic. Maybe I'll take a quick look. It doesn't mean I'll follow it, but I try to get something. I try to learn something from it, either way. But yeah, I've dealt with negative feedback as well, and I've tried to put a positive spin on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, sometimes negative feedback can just bring you a spin, and sometimes, of course, you get moments that you're like, okay, how am I gonna do this? But then, in your mind, you're like, wait a minute, I need to think like that. That is what they're looking for. Like, when I made this giant painting that I have on his wall, I will take a photo of it at some point again. But my teachers were like, well, we liked your first version better. But before they had said, like, you need to change this and that and this and that. And then I changed it, and then they were like, no, we liked your previous version better. And I was like, what? Like, that is like, huh? What? But then you also think about yourself, and you think, oh yeah, no, I get it. And that's something you learn.
Yeah, it's nice to get feedback from other people, but at the same time, what I try to tell people is, as much as you want to get feedback and comments from other people, don't take it to heart, or don't give it, I guess what I would say is, don't give it too much weight, because no one is ever going to be as invested in your work as you are.
Exactly, and I feel like that is something that we can say to everyone who is streaming as well, to keep that also in mind. Like, I've seen a lot of people get discouraged by the numbers that they get on their streams. And I think we just actually basically can say that it's you who put it out, not someone else.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the way I put it is, like, you have to like your work more than anyone else.
Yep.
If other people like it, great. But I always say, it's a weird way, I basically say, I don't want to give anyone's opinion more power than my own when it comes to my work.
That's a good one.
I mean, it's different when we're talking about doing a client-specific project, but if you're just talking about creating, then definitely I would say you don't want to let someone have that kind of power over you. Which is hard, because it took me a long time to get out of that mindset.
I think we all have that. I think we all have that mindset sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think we can ever stop that either.
No, you're right. I don't know that it's going to, because even to this day, I'll look at something and I'll say, oh, this post only got this many likes, but this one got this many likes. So what? And I start comparing the posts against each other.
Yeah, and that's when you actually fall into your own trap, as I would call it. At least for me, I feel like
I think that was something that I really wanted to, and I try to do that in my videos where I say, don't compare yourself to other people. There's an old saying, I don't know if you ever heard this expression. It says, it's called compare and despair.
Ah.
So you look at someone else's work, and what you're basically saying is, I want my work to look as good as theirs. But what you're doing is you're actually putting yourself in a negative mindset right off the start. Because what you're saying is, I want to be as good as this person, which means you're kind of saying, my own standards aren't good enough.
Yep.
But what you could do instead is you could try to be inspired by it. So you could say, they did an amazing job. Let me see what I can do in my version. So it's kind of a different. It's kind of a strange mindset to have, because I think it's almost impossible to compare yourself to someone else on some level.
Sorry, I'm looking at something and I'm like, what is happening? It's only got a message saying that something was encoding something. Because I want to go to your YouTube channel for a second. Are you still there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
I was like, huh? Where did he go?
No, it's actually looking at one of an old video I did, because I was thinking about what we were talking about comparing. And one of the points I had in the video that I said was, instead of comparing yourself to anyone else, compare yourself with the work you did previously.
Yeah.
So basically, compare yourself with the you of yesterday or the day before.
You know what I'm gonna do? As soon as the stream ends, I'm gonna put your links on a tweet so that everyone can check it out. Because for some reason, my browser is interrupting my stream.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't like it when I see that. It's not like I'm dropping frames or anything, because sometimes you can drop frames, but that's not happening because the internet is good. But it's, I don't know, it was making your sound really clunky. And it is not supposed to happen, so. But yeah, I think about what I'm gonna do the coming week. What are your plans? What are you gonna do the coming weeks?
Well, I basically finished, I have a Patreon account where I have my webcomic going, and I just finished one half of the prologue for the first issue. So basically it's a backstory for one of the main characters. So I'm working on the backstory for the other main character. So that's basically what I'm trying to prioritize. I have it storyboarded out. So now it's kind of like a puzzle. You're just trying to put everything together. And then once that's done, I'll start posting that. There's some kind of fan art stuff I'm doing in Instagram. So that's another one I'm doing. And I'm doing some more videos in YouTube. Basically just, some of it's instructional, some of it I want it to be more encouraging and inspirational. So it's basically been a blend of those 3 or 4 things I'm trying to do all at the same time.
Nice.
But I've been happy with it. I mean, what's going on right now in the world with the lockdown, it's been really bad. I've been fortunate that I was able to work from home, and I was able to work in a way that I was able to put more attention to my artwork while I was still getting paid at work. So it's been a good situation for me, and I already have been able to get a lot done. So yeah, I can't really complain. I mean, I did want to work at home more, not under these circumstances, but you know, you work with what you can.
I think a lot of people have
Try to make
been.
the best of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people have been learning a lot about that working from home is actually possible. I feel like a lot of companies have now seen that actually working from home is actually a possible thing and that everyone can do it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, I mean, just looking at it, because I work in another city, so it takes me almost an hour to get from home to there. So the fact that that whole commute is gone, and it's been gone for a while, has made a huge difference for me.
Yeah, for me, it's of course I always work from home, so from now on, so it's fine. But I do notice that for my parents, being at home, they did not like that. They wanted to get out as soon as they could. They did not like it.
It's understandable.
They were like, "We need to get out," and I was like, "Okay, you need to get out, bye." It was like they felt they're so stuck here, you know. It's like, we don't want to be in this home, and I'm like, okay, go then. But for me, it's like I'm used to being at home, and I'm so used to working by myself and sitting at home that I actually prefer it. And although I probably, when everything is slowly more opening up, I'll probably go to Amsterdam, just sit there for like hours to work there or something, and then go back at one point. Just be out for a while. But
Okay.
you know, you can always do that. It's not like you have to, you know, do this or you have to do that. You can always do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, my basic workflow or lifestyle is such that I'm home anyway a lot because I'm in front of the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really been too affected by stuff that's going on.
Yeah, me neither. I do have to say, sometimes it's hard because sometimes you have a lot of other things in your head and that you have to do a lot of other things, and it's like, I need to keep that in mind, that I need to take a minute to sit down and also relax instead of always being working. Because that can overpower you.
Yeah, I'd say actually one thing that's actually worked for me, it's kind of a weird thing, is the night before I go to sleep, I actually write down a list of things I want to do the following day.
Daily goals.
I find when I write it down, like, I'm a lot more focused and I'll actually get it done. But the weird thing is, I don't put it in my iPad or anything digital. It's always something I handwrite.
Wasn't that something that I showed you as well? Well, when I first showed you how I had it listed on my wall?
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, because I remembered that I showed you, and you were like, hey, oh, that's something that I'll keep in mind, and know that you...
Yeah.
Because, yeah, for me, that helps so much.
It reminded me, because I did something for a friend. Have you ever heard of graphic facilitation?
No, what is that?
So basically, say you're doing a presentation, like in a boardroom full of people or in a conference room, and I'm there behind you. And as you're talking and explaining a concept, I'm on a whiteboard and I'm basically drawing out everything. So you'll say something like, you have to hook up the 2 monitors, and as you're saying that, I'll actually be drawing a picture of 2 monitors and basically showing a visual connection to the other. so people can kind of, it's basically putting your words into pictures.
Making it visual.
Yeah. It's basically, it seems simple, but it's actually kind of tricky because you're basically just going on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I did for this person was they actually were introducing an app into a phone that was supposed to relieve stress, to help relieve stress. So as she was doing it, I was on the board and I'm trying to listen to what she's saying, and for a moment I was stumped. I didn't know what to do because you can't really prepare for it. And then I had the idea where I actually drew a cell phone and I did a little emoji and then I did like a heart symbol to show that, you know, this app on the phone is going to make you healthier.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, especially for me, and I guess for you as well, we're visual people. We think about an image in our head, in our mind, and then we have to show it to other people what we mean.
Yeah, it's basically visual storytelling.
Yeah.
Because they had an interesting quote. They talked about George Lucas from Star Wars. And they said his movies always used to be kind of different for their time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was George Lucas or someone that said, he said most storytellers are literal storytellers. So they're very much about the written word. But he says, for me, I've always been a visual storyteller. So the dialogue may seem odd or seem weird,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm more focused on the image, how it's going to appear visually.
Yeah, and that's right. That's 100% right. I agree with that. Where I do have to admit that sometimes when I write something down, I remember it more clearly as well. Like when I had to study for my test for last year for my art class, art history, I noticed that when I wrote it down and draw on it and like make a little, like, I don't know, sign or something, like a little, I don't know, doodle or something, and just put it next to it, to a word that I just could not keep in my head, I would be able to remember that word because I knew what the doodle would look like. Or stuff like that. Like that is making something visual in your mind to keep remembering. Like right now I have a to-do list on my wall, which was one of the things that I had to do was make a logo for the podcast. Could cross it off now. And I change that every single time when I've done something, I can cross it off and I know that's done. My daily goals for today were that I at least make sure that I would game for about half an hour to clear my head for a bit. I don't always do that, so I had to tell myself that I had to do that today, because then I could clear my head a little bit to be able to be fully focused on this. And as well as like with my drawing as well, I tell myself like a couple of days ago, one of my daily goals was at least make 5 drawings. It turned out to be 12, but that was something that I didn't even see coming.
Yeah. No, for me it's huge. When I write something down, it's something as simple as, I guess it's a mental thing. I just want that satisfaction of being able to cross something off the list.
I actually crossed something off the list today. I got Air Server, the one that I used to show my iPad earlier. I bought that today, as well as getting a green screen. So everyone who's wondering why this ugly thing is still here, that is actually going to be replaced because there's a green screen coming, which I'm gonna not use to fully take the whole background off because that's not what I want to do, but I'm actually going to use it to show some more details on my background with using a green screen, just to make it more feel, I don't know, more professional, as in a video form. It's not a big one because it's only like 85 centimeters by 2 meters, so it's not too high or too big. It's really small. But that's actually why I got it, just to make sure that it at least can make sure that this is gone, because I hate this. It's my mom's stuff. It's not like I can remove it because it's from my mom, but it's a bit in my way that I'm like, I need to find some way to kind of get it out of my videos, because like if I could turn around my computer right now and show what it actually looks like. I don't know if you guys have ever seen someone stream and then they take down their green screen and you actually see the entire thing. It would shock you. This is literally a mess, but that's, I guess, the stream life and also the creative life. I can keep it nice and proper for a day or two, and then it's a mess. I don't know if you know that as well, but that's me.
Yeah.
Especially with files as well. Like now, I had to get an extra hard drive because I have to keep all my files on there for my business. And I'm like, I already know what's going to happen. Half the files are not going to be ending up there. So I'm like, I need to do it because I really had to. I literally have a note on my wall right now that says backup every single day. As soon as the hard drive is here, like. Already reminding myself, yes, you need to do that or else.
Yeah.
It's the little things, you know. I don't know if you ever experienced that, but that's typical me. That's typically me right now. But I keep the background for the rest cool. Like I have my gorgeous Assassin's Creed statue here. And I have all my art books here. I literally have, these are all my art books. You can't see it now, but you cannot see it right now on the stream yet, but I literally have all of like my art books for drawing, for Photoshop, for web design, for literally artists. They're all here. And I have a giant statue and a really lovely cup. For those of you who love my video games, you know what this is, right? It's the control. It's a control mug. So yeah, that's something that I'm working on right now, is at least making sure that that's not in screen anymore. Like the rest I don't care about, but that is, that thing is nah. Nope. I want to up it. And that's also why I got this microphone. Like, getting a new microphone was a big investment, but I'm so glad I did, because getting a new microphone makes such a difference. At least in audio quality, but as well as, like, in everything else. Like, it makes such more, a different type of sound than you have, like, when you're using, like, a regular plugged-in microphone. The sound will always be way different. This one has one of those plop things, and it stops me from making those like little noises, and it has like one of those caps on it. I actually, by accident, bought more of them. I don't even know how many I have right now. I think I have like 5, and then I have another 5. So I have like 10 of those. I mean, it will come in handy. It's not like if this one gets dirty, I can put a new one on. Let's see what they're called. I don't even know. Oh, it doesn't even say. But, yeah, these keep the wind out. Mostly. I'm not going to say it will keep all the wind out, because I tested it out with putting this thing on that I have here. You can hear that. It stops some of the wind. It stops your breathing wind. It doesn't stop the actual wind. That's why I'll call it. But I think, yeah. I think that is something that we wanted to talk about. I feel like that is something that I wanted to talk about. I feel like this is a book that I can recommend to everyone who wants to learn something, needs some motivation to do some things. Because there's also quotes like, nearly all rich and powerful people are not notably talented, educated, or charming, or good looking. I'm like, what? or they became rich and powerful by wanting to be rich and powerful. Your vision is of who you want to be is the greatest asset you have. Without having a goal, it's difficult to score. Actually, that last one is good.
Well, it's an old saying. If you aim for nothing, you'll hit it every time.
Yeah. So you need to aim for something. Like, my goal right now is to, at one point, get my own place. It's a huge goal, but it is a goal I have.
Well, it is a good goal, and it's good because once you put it out there, you'll start working towards it.
Yep, and that's what I'm doing right now. This is the plan that I have for the coming months is to work towards, at one point, actually getting out of here. Even though my first goal is to actually get a new MacBook, like an iMac. That's my first goal. I already got the iPad that I wanted. That was actually in my list as well. Like, one of the things that I wanted to get was an iPad, and I already got that one now. Because I saved up for it a bit. I made sure that I had enough to buy one, and now I have one, and I'm really glad that I did, because it is really powerful. And I think a lot of people don't know how powerful an iPad can be, or a phone, even, for that matter. I don't know if you guys have been watching my Instagram lately, but I've been posting a couple of photos that I made on my phone, which literally look like actual photos. I don't know if you've seen it. There's an app called, let's see. It's a new app from Photoshop, actually, from the Photoshop app. It's actually, let me see if I can show it. Basically, I'll take a photo to show you what it does. It's gonna look so silly when I do it like that, but that's fine. So, what it basically does, it does this. I don't know if I can show it perfectly. Yeah, it's showing. So that's the original, and then turns into some sort of mixed media graphic. And it's called Photoshop Camera. I don't know if you've looked up it yet. But I would say, yeah, Photoshop Camera. Look it up. It's for everyone who wants to try something out. That app is a lot of fun. I've been using it to take photos of our roses in a garden. We have a lot of roses in our garden. And I took a bunch of photos with it, and they are actually really good photos in comparison like what the effect does. Let's see if I can show it. This is one of the photos that it took.
Oh, nice. What is it, Photoshop?
Yeah, this is called Photoshop Camera.
Oh.
And it's really new.
Oh,
and
I guess I'm surprised. I just assumed they would have done it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know why they came up with it, but I'm like, interesting. They also added another new app, which is the app that I guess I can say it now. I've been beta testing Aerial for a long time, and that was an app to create, if you have, for example, something made digital. For example, I have this banana here. I can then make the banana be large in the area. I can just scale it up. It's made with augmented reality. And it is insanely powerful, and it's crazy when to use it. I got to beta test it when it was before it was coming out, and that was like months ago when they sent me to test it. And it was such a wonderful app, and now it's actually a usable app as well. But you could turn like your if you had like an artwork that you made in like Photoshop, or you made it in, I don't know, in After Effects or something, and you made it like super duper big, you could basically like Oh, actually now it's showing my yellow one on screen. But you could basically have like butterflies flying everywhere. It's such a wonderful app. I don't know if I can show it on the screen. Maybe I can if my screen stream is not gonna go crazy again. I think I can show it. As long as I don't put the Rio. Yep. Okay, I'll show it with the screen. Because now it's actually a working app. So it works with Illustrator. And one of the things that I could do, and I actually have a video of it as well, but you could make this. You can point your phone at something and it will make that painting come to life. I think I did it with a dinosaur. I literally made a dinosaur appear in front of me. Which was crazy. I don't know if I still have it. That's my question, if I still have it. If I do, I'll look it up and I'll post it. But it was nuts. You could have like a dinosaur in your room. Even though it's not something that's new, because you know it's done before, but yeah, Aereo is a lot of fun to try out, and I would recommend people to try it out. Just to play with it. Like it's included with your subscription. Oh, I actually have the video here. Oh, it's very short though, but it's fine. Let me put on the big thingy again. Nope, the big one.
Let's see. Getting started with AR.
Yep. Aereo. It's called A-E-R-O. But yeah, I tested it, and it was nuts, because you could animate a dinosaur in the room, and it was like, what? I literally had a dinosaur in my room, in front of me, like, oh my. And you could make it bigger as well, like, that was the thing, like, you could make, like, phones these days, they actually have photo here from a YouTube video, apparently, from how it works as well, and it's crazy. It's an absolute crazy app to use, but that shows you that a phone even can do a lot of things. There's so many apps you can use in graphic design apps that there are out there. Like Adobe came out with Adobe Capture a couple of years ago when I was in study, and I'll show you guys what that does. There's literally, like, I think they now even upgraded it. They keep upgrading it. That's Creative Cloud. But they have, for example, if I have, like, a photo of something and I can make it turn it into material. So if I point it at something that's a material, I can make it in a material that I can use in, like, say, a 3D program. If I have this book here and I want to get the typography, I can take a photo of it, and it will take the typography for me and tell me what the font is that I'm using. That's what it even can do. Like, what? If I have, for example, I don't know, I'm gonna draw something. I mean, one sec. Let's see. This is what is so cool about actually streaming, is actually to show what I'm doing. Let's say I'm drawing a heart here. Like simple, very simple thing. I'm just gonna draw a little heart here. Should pick it up as soon as I'm done. Okay, I drew a little heart here on paper, which looks like this. Now I have the app here, and it says creating shapes. If I point the app at it, like this, Like that. It does see the shadow, so I need to be careful. And I'm in a very light room. But, for example, that heart that I just drew is now a vector shape. So what I can then do, you see where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
So if I save it, I have an SVG file that I can import into. I'm gonna make it smaller to actually show you how it works. I can actually show it on screen as well. Okay, so I saved it now, and I'm gonna save it to my assets. Let's call it training stream or something. I don't know. I'm gonna save it, and it's gonna save to the Creative Cloud. I can now use it in Fresco if I want to. Grab my iPad and use it in Fresco, or I can use it on Illustrator because it is now a shape that is literally on my laptop right now. Because it's saved to the Creative Cloud, as you guys know what if you know what the Creative Cloud is. It basically saved to that, and now I can use that heart that I just drew on paper as a logo on my screen. Like, that is the magic of what a Creative Cloud can do. I think I already have it here right now. Because I just made the map, and it's right now saving to my Adobe Creative thing. Let's see if it did. Yeah, it's in my library. But it also works with like colors. If you have specific colors in your room, I have a lot of colors here. And let's say I want to get those 3 colors. Yeah, that's what I want. It will tell me the hex code. You can like change the colors, you can change the values, you can change your the colors that it saw. Like, you can change anything, and you can even do that. Like, there's so many things that it will do. Like, if you have like a certain, like here I have a lot of colors here, it recognizes all those colors. If I like those, I can say I have a sample photo here. I can apply those colors to the sample photo and literally use it like that. Like, that's the magic of like what Adobe can do. Like, even that is what it can do. Like, creating looks. If I create like a photo here of a pattern from these books, I can press the button. Oh, I like that. I save it. And I put it into the same map that I just used for my Illustrator map. I don't know if you're testing it right now too, but I can also have my heart here. Let's see if it did. Did it do what I wanted to do? Let's see. It did. Except that I have a lot of shadow in it. So I have to make sure that there's no shadow from my phone in here. Let's see how it works now. Yeah, it did. Now I have my own shape here from that little heart that I just made. If I used it on white paper, it would actually be better. I now use something else. But I created my own brush from a heart that I drew on paper. Like, it's maybe something simple, but that's what something like an app can do as well. Like, you have that with comp as well. If I were to, let's say I'm on the road, but I don't have my laptop with me. I don't have my iPad with me. I only have my phone. And someone calls me and they say I need to have a folder done tomorrow. It needs to have 5 images. It needs to have this as text. And it needs to be folded. And it needs to be at least for, I don't know, something I don't know, something else, something. You can, there's an app called Adobe Comp, which you can actually use to create compositions while you're in the train. How does that even sound? Like, it's the little things. Like, I know this now, it looks a bit weird that I'm using my phone, but I'm showing it actually to tell you that you don't have to have a laptop to be able to do 90% of the things. Like, of course, you cannot do all the big things that I do with graphic design. There's a lot of things you cannot do, but there's a lot of things you can do. Like, even Premiere Rush is now there. You can use it on your iPad. You can edit your whole entire video on iPad on the Rush app. Of course, you got the iMovie app, but you also got Premiere Rush. Like, Adobe is always inventing themselves. Like, I used to use Muse for a long time. Muse was a web design app where you only had to be visually designing, not coding, visually designing, which was great. The back end was a bit terrible, but it was great for what it did, you know? And there's just so many things like that I always think about, like, what can Adobe not do, you know? There's so many things that it does. And I think a lot of people don't know that, what it can do. And that's why I feel like it's so important to, you know, to learn that. It will take you time, but actually, I just see that my library is now updated. And I have my heart here in front of me.
Well, it's like when people sometimes make the comment about Adobe saying, well, it's the industry standard. But the thing is, they are the industry standard for a reason.
Yep. 100%.
And as much as I love using Procreate, I love using Clip Studio Paint, I love using Krita.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, if I wasn't really concerned about subscription, or if it wasn't an issue with my computer system, I'd still be using Adobe.
Yep. Look at this.
And I'm working towards getting back into it, but again, it's not urgent, but it's something I have to acknowledge, that if I did have the ability, if I did have the means, I'd put myself back in Adobe, because the only thing is, and I tell people when they're buying computers, you also have to remember you might need to get some accessories to go with it. So even if I get a new computer, I do need to get a new tablet as well.
If you look now on my screen, I don't know if the chat is there yet, if the stream is there yet, but the heart that I just drew, I have it on my screen right now. In full vector. Which means I can scale it up and scale it down. And that is crazy. Because this was not possible a couple of years ago. Oh, there it is. I was in design class. I was, my teacher who were teaching me things about this. My teacher came up to me and he said, I told him, I said, Adobe is doing something crazy right now. They have an app that you can use to basically draw something on paper, import it into Illustrator in a minute. And he was like, I don't believe you. Yeah, except that I did an entire project that way. And he was like, oh, she's actually right. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I see it.
See it? That's crazy, huh? I made that heart by drawing it on paper, and now I have an entire vectorized form here. And it made it look like this. Like, that is the thing. It copied my entire photo. Yes, it looked like that, because it did. It literally looks like that on paper. It was not perfect, because there's like lines and holes missing here in the letters. That is what it copied. It literally did what I asked it to do. So if I want to scale this up, I can now blow this up. I can make it as big as I want it to be. And I can even put it onto a gigantic building and it will still be this high quality.
Mm-hmm.
And that is crazy for something you made on your phone. On a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of Adobe. The inventor. Should I tell you a secret? We've been streaming for about almost 3 hours. Did you know that?
Sorry?
Did you know we've been streaming for 3 hours already?
Yeah, I just realized that now.
Time flies by, right? I'm surprised that the music is still going. I thought it was gonna start over, but it hasn't yet. Damn, I choose enough music. But yeah, this is what I meant with the magic of Adobe. It actually also copied my brush and the pattern that I told you about that I made, just a photo from my back here. The pattern is actually here too. I actually have the pattern here. And now I just applied it to my little heart. I now have my pattern that I made on my phone in my heart. And that is crazy. It's gonna take a minute to show up on screen, but it's crazy. That's welcome to the magic, I guess. Let me take a sip though, because my throat is dry. Haha. That was needed. But yeah. So did you know this already, or is this something you learned now new?
Oh, for me, this is new. I mean, I don't typically use the Illustrator apps, but it is something I'll be working towards eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I've been fortunate that I'll get the occasional graphic design request on the side, and fortunately, I've been able to use just Inkscape to do it. It's never been really heavily involved. But it is nice to know that this feature exists here.
I'll tell you, this was a game changer for me when I first found out. It was like eye-opening. Because I was like, okay, this is what I want my logo to look like. I'll just take a photo, put it in Illustrator, and change it. I can trace my own work now. But it's a feature that I hope a lot of people start to be using. I think I'm gonna make like a video on this and how it actually works in more detail on everything else, because I feel like this is gonna be an app that a lot of people are gonna be really happy with, I think. To learn and to know that you can actually do it. And like, as well as like with Photoshop and everything, it is possible to do. You can do it on your phone. It is all possible as long as you know what you're doing and how to do it. And now it's showing the pattern on the screen. I don't know why the delay is so much, by the way, because it's like, here it says that we're on 22 hours and 51 minutes. And here it says we're about 10 seconds behind. But it feels like it's more. But that's maybe because that's how I feel it. Anyways, do you need another break, or you feel like we should end the stream?
Sorry?
What do you think? Should we continue, or do you feel like you're at your end?
Oh, you mean ending the stream?
Mm-hmm. What do you think? Should we continue or put another break in for a few?
Well, let's see. Did you want to take a break now, or?
Yeah, I was thinking of now taking a small break for a few minutes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, okay. Let's do another small break. Because I need to get a drink. I need to get a few minutes, because now we've been streaming for both almost 3 hours, so we need to get a little bit of a drink in, because...
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
I'll see you guys in a minute.
Okay.
to the screen. I still need to work on those like fades and stuff. Just scene transitions. But yeah, wow. Oh man, I'm really feeling my throat right now. I haven't had that problem in a long time, but I'm feeling it now. I don't know how yours is, but mine is feeling it. Whew. Anyways, let's see. Because we're back. It's always funny when you look at yourself like, Anyways, I had a nice drink because I needed to have a drink and get a minute. Stretch the legs a little bit because, you know, it's important to stretch your legs a little. And get going again. Let's see. What is everyone doing right now? What are you guys up to? How are you guys liking the music, by the way? Because I am loving it. I did put it out now. Yeah, that's better. Alright, I think we took another break enough. Let's put the sound back on.
Yep, I can hear you.
Yay!
I was actually just in the other room.
Hey, sometimes it's needed, right? I wonder what everyone thinks about the music, because I'm really liking this music, even though at first I was like, but it's really upbeat, and I like it. So, it's pretty much a difference, but it's fun. Keeps it
The
going.
epidemic sound?
Yeah.
I didn't realize, I just started thinking, I had some music that was saved when I had the account.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should still be in my library.
Ooh, could be. Because they do save it when you download it once. It's listed in your in the songs you downloaded.
Yeah. Actually, I just realized. Do you remember that program called Sketchbook?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Apparently, it was a subscription service. Now it's free.
Oh.
I just thought that was interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think with Clip Studio that I was a bit like, why is the app on MacBooks and stuff and Windows computers, why is it on there it's a one-time purchase? And on iPad they need to pay for it every year.
You know what? I really wasn't happy with it.
No, I was like, what?
Well, the thing I didn't like was that it's 1 year, but then you have to pay for it again the following year.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing I looked at was, and again, this was something that I don't know if you saw the last post I did.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did it in Procreate, not Clip Studio.
Ooh. Yeah, I did see it. I've already seen it. It was really good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So did you notice, does the finish look a lot different than the previous post?
Mm-hmm.
Because the previous ones were all in Clip Studio.
Ah, I see. I did notice when I told you about the muted colors that I ran into that problem with Procreate myself.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, now I see why I kept getting muted colors, because they don't have the full color set.
Well, what I do is I actually turn up I sometimes, this picture I didn't do it because I wanted to have it be kind of at nighttime, or basically as the sun was coming up. But I did notice that when you go to color adjust, if you boost up the the saturation, you can actually flesh out the color a bit more. It's
Yeah,
just you
but
kind of have to play with it and almost exaggerate.
yeah, but I feel like when you do that, it's like you have to enhance the colors that are already there for the program itself. It's like I'm doing the programs as work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the strange thing for mine is that the images you saw on there, they were all done in grayscale, and then I basically used the lasso tool and changed around the color balance.
You and I, we have a total different type of way of working, and that's something that is also, I think, really interesting, is that you always work from grayscale and I always work directly in color.
I want to get to the point where I can work directly in color. The problem I've had is that, like, say for an example, I draw a character with blonde hair. The hair will be either too bright blonde or it'll be too dark, and the face will either be too red or too dark. So I try to treat it like I'm drawing on a photograph. And then once I get the shading and the lighting all done, then I'll basically start adding in. I don't know if it's probably not an efficient way to do it, but
It's
in
a way.
Krita, I actually picked out a different way to do it, which is you draw everything in grayscale, you duplicate the layer, and the layer on top, you change the mode from normal to overlay. And then what you do is you take a paintbrush, pick your color, and just color over it, and it'll preserve the dark and the light, but it'll just change the tone to the color you're using.
Ah, that's helpful.
So it's kind of, you should try it out. I think Clip Studio, I don't find it works as well, but I'm trying to do it in Procreate. The reason why is I'm trying to get used to Procreate enough that maybe I don't have to rely on Clip Studio. Because given a choice, if I was going to pay for a subscription software, I'd probably only want it to be Adobe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why
Because I already did buy Clip Studio for the desktop, and that was a one-time purchase.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's the one thing that I also was in my head thinking about. Like, I'm not gonna pay for it monthly. If I have to do it, I'll do the yearly one, where you just do it in 1 year and just pay that amount. Because I think I did that now, and I think it was 21.
Yeah.
For the entire thing for the year, which I feel like that is okay for Clip Studio for on my iPad if it's just a yearly purchase, but monthly, no. Thanks.
Yeah, I do yearly, and I'm thinking I probably don't even need the. I can probably get by with just the Pro.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I have the Pro version on my iPad, and I have the full version on my laptop.
Yeah.
I think something that is maybe interesting for everyone else. They have a sale right now. I think they still have the sale on. And they actually have a program, which is also interesting. If you're really good with drawing and stuff, they actually have a competition each month where you can win $110,000, I believe. And if you're good with like making videos as well and tutorials, you can actually get a special 1,000 per month for a video.
Okay.
That is something that a lot of people may not know about Clip Studio. They do have that offer. That's something that they do because they feel like the people who are using the programs can tell better stories on how it works than the people who made it. I kind of agree with it.
Oh.
I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah. Actually, that reminds me, I have to do the whole. I was trying to do an image for the Clip Studio Paint contest. I think it's supposed to be something about drawing space.
Yeah. And they ask you to do it in drawing and in photos and in text, I believe, and in video form. They were pretty strict with their rules. Okay. Yeah, they have specific rules and stuff. You have to read it, but it's really interesting that they do that. Like that, I don't see Adobe do that. I know that they're partnerships, but they're hard to get.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, I guess when you're the front runner or this industry standard like Adobe, you don't really have to worry about it too much.
Mm-hmm. Even though it does crash. Because
you're having people gravitating towards you naturally.
Yeah, I do have to say that Adobe does have sometimes issues, but then again, Clip Studio has issues too. Every program has issues. That's something that I feel like a lot of people sometimes forget.
Yeah, there's not a single program I think I can look at where I can say this is the most ideal program. I can't find anything wrong with it. Like Adobe, I like. Adobe, I mean, Clip Studio Paint I like. I like it mainly for the comic feature.
Yeah.
With the mask templates. But the brushes, I'm not always happy with it, even when I customize my own. I just find it tricky.
Yep.
Because it's basically the desktop transferred over to the iPad, so there's a lot of menu items that are taking up space on the screen, and you can only minimize so many of them.
Yeah, that's right.
And Procreate, I love it because it's one of those programs I can just pick it up and start drawing. I don't have to worry about setting up a layout or anything. But the finishing, I don't know. I think I still have to work on how to get better with it. Adobe Photoshop, of course, I love it because it has all these features. But at the same time, it has a lot of features I'm never going to use.
And Adobe Photoshop is made for photo editing, not for for drawing necessarily. That's something a lot of people sometimes do not know, is that Adobe Photoshop was technically not made for it. I actually have a Clip Studio on my screen right now to show you guys what we're talking about. That's the luck with having this ability to stream. You can actually show people what you're doing. I like that about this. I have the EX version as what Sunil is talking about, which is the full version of this program, which is the one with the comic future in it as well, which is this, and it's a small future. But it's technically really big. Because you can create and add how many you want, and you can also make animations within Clip Studio. That I haven't tested out, because I just do not know how it works.
I haven't tried out the animation.
I'm like, what? I haven't tested it out yet, but I love why I liked Clip Studio was mainly their, and I can show that if I don't know if my pen is now working though. I don't think I have my, it's working with a very big delay. That's because I don't have the Huion driver turned on. And it even tells me that my device is disconnected. Yeah. It's really funny. It says my device is disconnected, but it's not. Welcome to the world of Huion. Haha.
Well, it's either them or Wacom.
Yeah, both are the same. Even the program is freezing right now. This is what I mean with technology. Yeah, the program is fully crashing. Oh well. Oh, let's close it down. Should be able to close it. But if I would show it on my iPad, it's basically the same. The only difference is that that program doesn't have the comic version in it. The future. I don't have that's the reason my Huion driver needs an update. And that's why it's saying that the tablet is disconnected, which is really weird. But it does that sometimes, and I'm like, what? Oh well.
Do you find that do you find if you use a really big brush that it lags?
Yep. When you use too big, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you watch the screen right now, it actually is showing that. But like right now, it's funny because the Huion doesn't recognize itself. Which I find funny, because it is connected, because I'm literally looking at it. Ah well. Software. Sometimes technology doesn't want to work. But yeah, it looks different on like right now when I'm looking at the screen as well. Like the stream, it looks really strange and everything. That's fine. At least it works. Just not now. But that's common. That's typically this screen though. I think it has to do with the fact that I'm using and OBS and Illustrator is turned on. And that's why the screen is like, yeah, no. Oh well, that's technology for you.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes I don't realize that. I look at it and say, well, why is the program slow? And then I realize, yeah, I have 3 windows open and 2 of them are playing video files.
Yep. Well, that's with me. I'm streaming. I'm making a live video. It is laggy. Right now it uses 18% of my CPU, which may not seem like a lot, but because it's warm in this room, it's laggy. Oh well. That's just the way, the thing we have to live with, I guess. That's technology. And I use my glove a lot. The glove that I kept showing everyone on stream and stuff, like when I'm drawing, the same as on my iPad, I use this glove.
Oh yeah, I've never had to worry about that before myself. But you know what? Actually, one interesting thing I wanted to mention. You know how I said I never had to worry about the glove.
Mm-hmm.
When I use Procreate, I never had to worry about the palm of my hand writing something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, activating. But when I'm in Clip Studio, it actually does.
Oh, I see it go. Yeah, I see you're hosting. That is strange. Why is it so delayed? Yeah, it's on the event list. Yeah, it's weird because technically it should show as a notification, but for some reason Stream Elements isn't doing that. Maybe it works only with followers. But yeah, that was in between for a minute. Thank you for the host.
But when you draw without it, find that your palm actually starts drawing, like if it rubs against the screen?
No, but I noticed that when I use it, my hand doesn't what do you call it? It slides off the screen. Like I know that my hand right now is very sticky because of the oils that are in your hand. So your screen gets dirty really quickly. And when I use it, it doesn't get that dirty. But I don't understand why the thing is not showing up. I have Streamlabs turned on. Usually when there's a host, this should happen. But it's not doing that. I don't know what's going on here, guys. This is weird. I'll have to look into this.
Actually, I was going to ask a quick question. What did you think about did you ever try using the Critic program?
I haven't used it in an hour.
Okay. I did a video on it. I actually found it to be very, very close to Photoshop, the way their brushes work.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually really impressed with it. But because it's open source, I'm never sure about what this will be like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to look into it. I'm trying to test all kinds of things.
Yeah,
Aw,
the
he's
only
even
thing
proud
is,
of me.
they didn't make it for iOS, so
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to use it on your desktop or your MacBook.
Oh, yeah. I think I used to use another program. I'll see if I still have it. I don't know if I have it still. That was with my Wacom. I still have my Wacom tablet here, by the way. Which reminds me, I still need to uninstall that.
Oh, you have an old Wacom?
Yes, I do. I still have it. I have two.
Are they recent ones or new ones?
One was pretty recent. And the other one is years old. I don't know exactly how many years, but it's old.
Yeah, I was actually looking, I mean, I'm not looking to get right away, but I was looking at the Wacom Pro, the large one.
Found it. Yeah, I had this one. Let me get it. This looks so weird on stream when you're bending down. It's like, what? I had this one. It was black and blue. And it was really cute. And it worked fine. It was actually, I still have the cable in now, but it was technically, it was Bluetooth. Because it had a battery in it. So I didn't have to have it connected to the cable. And it worked perfectly fine. Except that I started to work with my iPad and started to see it more, that I wanted to see it on screen quicker. But the program that I was talking about just now that I got with this was ArtLife. Did you ever heard about that one?
Oh. No, I never heard of it.
I actually had a serial code for it. I don't know if I remember having it. I don't even know if I still have it. It doesn't really let me. But that's why I cannot use it right now, because I don't remember if I have the code. But I'll have to look into that. But it came with this thing years ago.
Okay.
I think I still can log into it and find it probably. But it was one of the programs that I kept using, and it was great. It was a great Wacom to use.
Well, I'm using an old Bamboo.
Bamboo is good.
Yeah. And it's actually 8 years old.
Also 8 years old.
So it definitely works well. But my biggest thing with it is that it's the small one. So I really wanted a bigger one where I can kind of, you know, it's more comfortable when you have more space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing with me as well. Like, I'm so glad that I now have this screen here, which is really big. I wanted something that I could work on that was big, but it wasn't an iPad because I just wanted to have it as a second screen as well. Even though you can now use your iPad as a screen, I needed something that was bigger.
Yeah.
You know that, right? You can now connect your... I don't know, it's only with the newest software though, I think. I don't know if you ever got the update. But if you upgrade to Catalina, you can actually technically use your iPad as a second screen. As if I were here and I do this... I'm gonna show you guys, see if I can show you guys how this works. I see that my parents are downstairs because their television is turned on. Okay, so I'll show you guys. This is what my desktop looks right now. If I do this, now this is going to be tricky. You guys see that? So that's something that they will be able to see. Now my iPad is my second monitor, and my Ueon is my third.
Okay.
And I can actually set it as that I want it to be my third monitor as well. So yeah, you can basically just drag your screen, like the stream, I can basically drag it and put it onto my second monitor, which is my iPad. So that is something that is really fun to try out if you ever get the chance. It is a lot of fun, but it's also really creepy at one point. But that's something that you can now do, and yeah. You can also sync it so that it literally shows it as it's a mirrored screen. That's also what you can do with this. So that's the magic of what the iPads now can do. But then again, the iPad is really small. If you look at my stream right now, you see how small it actually is, and it's not very big. It's pretty small, but it works, you know. That's I guess all I can say. It works. You can use it, but then again, I showed you what I can do with Air Server earlier to mirror your iPad on your laptop. That is even crazier. I like that a lot. It's a nice feature to be able to stream your iPad. That's something that maybe is interesting for when you forget to stream, because that's actually what I'm trying to get to him. If you guys are getting it, everyone who's watching, I'm trying to get him convinced that he should start streaming as well. A little bit. Because I feel like it's something that would be cool to see how you work with your design work, and how you take it on.
It would be interesting to try that.
I feel like it's gonna be freeing. I think I mean, we know now that this is live. You now know how it works. You now have seen me do it. You can see how this is working. And yeah, I feel like it's something interesting for you to try. It's maybe not something you think about straight away, but
yeah, but something definitely down the line, but relatively soon, that I'd want to try doing that. Because it's one thing if I'm doing a time lapse on YouTube, but it's not really real time because I've already drawn it. I'm basically just doing the vocal.
This is real time. What I'm saying right now, it's on there. Yeah.
We get to see all the corrections I make as I'm going back and forth.
Hey, that is good. That's actually good. That's where people learn the most from, actually, going back and forth.
Yeah, that's true.
I learned so much from that, from having people actually see me, like, what I noticed right now, and this is really funny, that's something that I've already noticed during this entire stream. I've been putting my fingers, I've been putting my hair behind my ear the whole time. And it looks so silly on stream, and I'm like, oh my god, I keep doing it, and I can't stop it. It's crazy. But you keep doing it because you're used to doing it. It's like, I don't know, it's a habit. And that's, I think, the quirkiness of streaming as well. Like, you see things that you do, and like, oh yeah, I just did that. I had it with gaming streams as well. When I play games, I'm like, I repeat things 10 times, and I'm like, oops. But then again, that is also something that you can work on, but it's not something that has to be perfect straight away. It can learn over time. It can go bigger over time. And that's the magic.
That's nice. I like the idea. I think it would be neat to, because then I could also really go more in depth about the whole grayscaling thing.
Yeah, definitely. And you can show them. You can show them what you're doing.
Say, I'm so bad in colors, this is why I do grayscaling.
No, don't say it like that. More like...
No, I know, I'm just kidding. But it's funny because most of the people I know that do grayscaling, they do it because they're actually not, they don't think they're good at judging where to put the colors. So they grayscale it first and then they add the color later.
Hey, if that's how you work, that's how something that works. I work with the craziest brushes. I don't know if you've seen which brush I've been using. For those of you who are wondering, I keep using a oil brush. because I don't know why, but I feel like I know how to use an oil brush, while in reality I hate working with oil paints.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'll tell you guys in full front. I hate using oil paints. I've used them in the past and I hated it. Give me acrylics and I'll be fine, but don't give me oil paints, absolutely not. Or water paints. I have an entire collection behind me. I don't think I can show it, but I don't think the stream will pick it up unless I move to this. Well, now you guys can, but you can also see my legs. There's a whole box here. It's a little hard to see, I guess. Yeah, now you can see it. There's literally a whole tray here of just water paints and water paper. Crazy like that. But yeah, like I've been doing that a lot, but I cannot work with oils. Nope. Give me acrylics then. I'd rather work with acrylics. Do you also have that you use a brush in Photoshop or in Procreate that you're loving, and that you're like, if I use that brush in real life, I'm gonna be not using it at all?
Yeah.
Which one do you use the most, by the way? What kind of brush is your favorite? The one you made, or is it just like any brush?
In Procreate?
Yeah?
Well, remember that one I sent you the other day?
Yeah?
That's basically my primary, because to me that's as close as I can get a brush to be like the Photoshop brush.
Ah.
And in Krita they have a brush that's basically, it's like a brush with a hard edge, but it's very much, you can vary the pressure, so it's very, very similar to the basic brush that Photoshop has. And then in Clip Studio, I basically made up my own brush there too.
Yeah, for me, I've used those brushes that I send you, the ones with the oil brush or texture brush. I keep using that one a lot because I feel like that one is very interesting, to say the least. It works very... I don't know, it gives a sort of edge or something. And sometimes I switch, of course. Sometimes you use a different brush. That's what everyone uses, I guess. But sometimes people say... That's something that I want to keep away from people. To say something really important is the brush doesn't make you a better artist. It's how you use it.
Yeah.
Because...
Actually, I put that in one of my videos where I actually mentioned that some people were asking me, what's the best drawing program? What's the best one to use? I want my work to look like this. And I basically just did a video to say it doesn't really matter which drawing program you use so much as how often you practice on it.
Yep.
And that goes the same for the brush. And one of the things I told, one of them said, well, I want to do work that looks really realistic, like Photoshop work, so I have to get Photoshop, but I can't afford it. So I said, try doing this, type Procreate artwork. And what happens is you can look at all the other people that have done like all these realistic pieces of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned it's not really to discourage anyone, but it's just to let you know that it can be done with the cheap software. It doesn't have to be on an expensive.
It's... How I put it, it's time, practice, and patience. Because if you want to be good, you have to practice. When I first started with Illustrator, I was scared. A lot of people don't know this, but when I first started with Illustrator, you should have seen my first work. It was horrendous. It was terrible. But it was me learning how to use it. And what I learned from that was that I had to practice that program. And then I started to do it. I grabbed a photo from the internet and I just started to use that pen tool. And I kept on using it. I tried to perfect it. I tried to use it again and again and again until I made hundreds of pieces of just practicing that tool. And at one point I was like, this looks good. And I knew how to use it. And always keep that in mind when it comes to the programs that you're using. Just keep practicing. No matter what, practice. Always.
Yeah.
All the time. But like we both now just said, so this is something that is for everyone who is listening or who is watching. Just use. Just don't just buy for, I don't know, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60 on brushes because you believe that that brush is going to give you that piece that that person made. Keep in mind they could have been practicing for 10 years and have done it for 10 years or 40 hours or hundreds of hours, and you think you can do it in 10 minutes. Maybe you can. I'm not saying you can't.
Yeah, you're right.
But
I think that's the thing where it's just, you have to be, it sounds weird, but it's like a friend of mine said, he does the entrepreneurial workshop, and he says, you have to be impatient to start, meaning you can't wait, you have to be impatient to get started, but you have to be patient with the results.
yes. And that's with every single thing, even on Twitch, even on Twitter, even on Instagram, even on YouTube, even on all the other platforms, even with art. Patience. Right?
Yeah, exactly. You just, I mean, you have to be, and the way I look at it too is that it's not going to come easy. If it was easy, then everyone would be doing it.
Exactly. And that's why you also have to make your own content be you. I've seen people who are trying to copy other people and to literally do what another person did. That's not going to work.
Yeah. One thing I suggested to people too, because they'll look at like an artist like Jim Lee or someone and say, I want to draw just like them. You know, they'll scan, they'll copy, they'll trace over, and I said, well, no artist is perfect, and if you're copying someone 100%, you're also copying the exact same imperfections they have.
Yes.
So what I always do is, and this is just me, my references are actually real people. So when I'm drawing, maybe it's like a fashion magazine, or maybe it's an outdoor magazine. I'm drawing people because I want to draw the structure as close as I can to what it is, rather than looking at someone else's. So that's one thing I've been happy of with my work, is I know some of them, it may be inconsistent, maybe one picture didn't come out the way I wanted, but I know that I did it from scratch. That
Exactly.
however good or bad it was, it just kind of, I basically did it like that. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that. It's just, it's not going to be easy, but you try to copy someone else's work. The funny thing is, if you try to copy someone else's work, the next work they do is actually going to look better because they're improving as well.
Yeah,
So
you grow.
you're not going to be happy with it anyway, even when you get it done.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing, like, you grow as a person as well. If you make something and you don't like it, the next day it's going to be better. The next day it's going to be better. The next day it's going to be better. The same as with, like, a logo. You create your first logo, it looks like crap, the next one looks better.
Yeah.
And you always get feedback.
Exactly.
It's always going to be different. And I think that's one of the main things that we both wanted to point out to everyone who's watching and who's been in the chat and everything, is that it's going to be different each time. It's never going to be the same. Sometimes you'll say something and you, like, for example, I done something for Sunil, I think it was yesterday, and I was like, oh, it was a pretty easy thing I had to do for him. But one of the things that I told him as well is, like, maybe this should be more down because then it aligns better. I don't know if you actually send it to the person who you send it to, but I was like, I don't know, I feel like that fits more because, I don't know, it comes across better for me. And that's also the thing, like, it's also opinions. Someone has another different opinion about something, and that's also what you keep in mind, and, yeah. That's how I look at it.
That's why you have to, it sounds kind of cliche, but I always tell people, the only person that has to like your artwork is you.
Yep.
Like at the end of the day, it's, and oh, the other thing I wanted to mention too was, when you're trying to compare your artwork, the best thing I recommend is put up your previous art and just use that as a reference of something you're trying to improve on.
Yep.
Because you know what your progress is, you know how long it took you to get to where you are. But if you're looking at someone that it turns out you didn't know they were a concept artist and they've worked for Lucasfilm for 10 years, well, obviously you're going to be discouraged when you try to match up your art with theirs.
Oh, for sure.
And again, like early on, I actually caught myself doing that. I would look at Star Wars concept art or from, you know, any other TV series, and I'd say, I wish I could draw like that. And I'd try to copy it as much as I could. And I realized, you know, that's not going to help me.
No, and that's also something that Greg, another friend of the one that you also know, but we both know him, when I spoke to him and I said that, I was like, I would love to do what you do, and I'm like, no, I will never be able to do what he does because he is better at that, and I've seen his artwork, and I'm like, I can never do that. And he's like, well, you can, you just have to practice, and you have to just learn the books, and he sent me dozens of books, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, I'll try it. And I went and I tried it, and I trusted his methods, and I played with it, and it did help. Also,
It helped?
Yeah, it helped a lot to practice faces and stuff. He sent me books about that. And I also watched a video series about environmental. What you talked about, like drawing environments and stuff. I watched an entire video series on that.
Oh yeah, landscape, scenery.
Yeah. I watched an entire video series on that, and I actually have to say, it helped. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up. I know how you think about it, but we've been streaming for 3.5 hours. And my throat is slowly fading away. And I feel like we've talked about a lot of topics. And I feel like next time we can always do it another time. I don't think it's going to be a one-time thing. It probably is going to be a more-time thing. If anyone else then wants to join, you can also join next time. But I think for now it's been amazing to have you on here to be part of my podcast today. So thank you for being here, Sunil.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, well, thanks for inviting me. This was a lot of fun. I've never done one of these before.
That's why I wanted you to experience it. So yeah, thank you for being my guest here, and I'll probably do one of these again sometime soon. We'll have to see in how my schedule is going to be, because as most of you guys know, this stream was also a bit of a celebration, because I got something important today, which is in Dutch, but I got this week, which means that I'm officially a business owner now. So things are going to be different, but it's only going to be positive. So that is something that I wanted to tell, and that's also why I did this stream today with one of my best friends. And to have him on here on the stream and to do this stream with you guys. So thank you guys, everyone, for being here.
And congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we're gonna raid someone who is on. I think my friend Ozonic is still streaming. He's doing a 24-hour stream. I don't think I'll ever survive that. He does a lot of long streams. But we're gonna raid him, so I'm gonna put on a raid. Well, I'm gonna put this screen on the ending screen. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and We will be back another time. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Bye.